Chapter 72. His True Face Revealed. Yuanwan wasn't sleepy, so she sat by the lake and pondered about things. As she was lost in thought, a pair of messy footsteps came up behind her. A person walked over grumbling and swearing, then sat down on the bench diagonally behind her. "Damn you, Zhao Xingzhou. You beast. I'm going to the Education Bureau to report you for abusing a student. Psycho." The little lake was very silent at night, so Yuanwan heard all of the boys' curses. Hearing this voice and these curses, the person speaking seemed to be the Ling Dong who planted the water bucket on the classroom door to prank her, the godbrother of Cheng Shui. Seems like he was being tortured by Zhao Xingzhou. Zhao Xingzhou really didn't disappoint. He didn't let him off even on the weekend. Yuanwan was sitting under the shade of a big tree, so Ling Dong couldn't see her at all. However, Yuanwan could see Ling Dong's withered face very clearly under the moonlight. He had two huge dark eye circles, a can of beer in his hand, and a messy stack of math exam papers that he was stepping on, leaving black footprints all over them. Yuanwan, the ugly freak. She's made me so miserable. Just wait and see. If I don't kill you, my last name isn't Ling. Ling Dong crushed the can of beer, his forehead full of gloom. Hearing her own name, the corners of Yuanwan's mouth twitched. How is this my problem? Just because they wanted to prank me, I had to go along with it obediently? This Ling Dong was the school's little bully, renowned for being overbearing and unreasonable. As his father was the school's director, those bullied by him could only swallow their hurt, and even the teachers turned a blind eye and didn't dare to discipline him. It was just his luck to bump into a stubborn teacher like Zhao Xingzhou this time. If it had been anybody else, he'd be let off with just a scolding. If she was targeted by Zhao Xingzhou, her days in school wouldn't be easy. "Oh, ugly freak. You dared to trick even me. You want to play games with me? I'll face you to the death. Let's see if you'll still be so arrogant then." Ling Dong kept calling her an ugly freak and continued his drunken ramblings. When she heard the end of it, Yuanwan couldn't hold it in any longer, so she coughed lightly and said, "Ling Dong, you seem to have set your own trap and gotten trampled by Zhao Xingzhou. How is it my fault at all?" At hearing this voice beside him without warning, Ling Dong was so frightened that he fell off the bench. It took him a long time before he climbed back up. With a shaking voice, he said, "Damn. Are you a human or a ghost?" Yuanwan was a bit speechless. "Just act as if you saw a ghost." You're Yuanwan?" Ling Dong couldn't see the person opposite clearly, but as he recognized her voice, his expression turned ugly. Not wondering why was Yuanwan out so late, the boy immediately spoke with a sullen tone, "Ugly freak. How dare you speak? If it wasn't for you taking your time to get into the classroom the other day, I wouldn't be this miserable. I'm telling you, you're dead. As long as I'm in Qinghe, don't hope of ever having a good day. I'll give you a taste of death." Yuanwan rubbed her forehead. Forget it. There was no reasoning with these kids. Watching Yuanwan stand up to leave, Ling Dong wasn't satisfied. He picked up the can of beer, staggered to catch up, and grabbed Yuanwan's arm. "Ugly freak. I didn't say you could leave. Stay right." Before he could finish, Ling Dong opened his eyes wide suddenly and stared at that unbelievably beautiful little face under the moonlight, immediately dumbstruck. Chapter 73. Love at first sight. In front of him was a girl in a pink dress with long black hair and skin as fair as snow. Looking at those eyes, brighter than the stars in the sky, brimming with reflections of light from the water, she looked as if she just cried, tugging on his heartstrings. If the school beauty, Cheng Shui, was beautiful, then the girl in front of him was like a fallen angel. Ling Dong felt as if his own heart had been hit strongly. His heartbeat echoed continuously in his head, muddling his whole sense of being. Yuanwan was used to seeing this stunned expression of his whenever he bumps into her, but there was something different about Ling Dong's expression this time. Ling Dong was very shocked, like he'd just seen a ghost, but then he started blushing, his gaze becoming strange, and finally, he released her like he'd been electrocuted. He seemed shy and nervous as he stared at her and stuttered, You're Yuanwan?" Yuanwan raised her brows slightly and touched her own face subconsciously, as she recalled that she'd left the old house directly and was dressed well, but didn't have any makeup on. She'd definitely give her classmates a scare without any makeup on. Since he'd already seen her, she couldn't deny it. She smiled and said, "I didn't put on any makeup today. Sorry to scare you." She turned and walked away casually after speaking. Until Yi Wanwan had left, Ling Dong was still rooted in the same spot as if he was dreaming. What's happening? That girl prettier than Cheng Shui. Was Yi Wanwan the ugly freak? How could that be? Ling Dong hobbled back to the hostel like he was in a fantasy. Upon seeing Ling Dong, 3 other boys from the hostel immediately greeted him. One of them with cropped hair presented one of his precious cigarettes amiably. "Dong, you're back." Watching Ling Dong walking straight to his bunk and sitting down without any reaction, the guy with cropped hair stared. Dong, are you all right? Is something wrong?" The guy on the upper bunk of Ling Dong's bed looked at Ling Dong spaced out and was worried as well. "Dong, don't scare us." A topless boy in oversized pants spat and said angrily, "Damn, that Zhao Xingzhou is a monster. For just pouring a bucket of water on him, does he have to torture you like that? Look at what he's done to our Dong." It was all that ugly freaky Wanwan's fault. "Don't be pissed, Dong. We'll teach that brat a lesson tomorrow. We'll help you and Cheng Shui get your revenge." The 3 of them talked busily about vengeance, but gradually felt something was fishy with Ling Dong's dazed expression. His whole face was blushing red, from the tips of his ears to his neck, and he kept muttering things like, "Impossible. How could she be so beautiful? And she was simply a goddess." The 3 guys looked at each other. Ling Dong didn't look like he had been tortured by Zhao Xingzhou to the point of being in a trance. Instead, he seemed somewhat like a teenage boy in love. Up until that moment, Ling Dong hadn't heard his roommates, nor had he noticed they were staring at him, muttering everything about the face that made his heart beat wildly. In a daze, he suddenly felt something in his palm. He slowly opened to look, and it looked like a small, pink, knitted flower that he'd pulled from Yi Wanwan's clothing by accident. Looking at that little flower, Ling Dong was suddenly wide awake. It wasn't a dream. It's real. That girl really was Yi Wanwan. Yi Wanwan's bare face wasn't only ugly, but instead, she was so beautiful. Nothing makes sense. Chapter 74. A hero to the rescue. Yi Wanwan headed back to her dorm right away and didn't think too much about the episode by the lake. There were only a few months left before the college entrance exam, so she wouldn't be in school for much longer. There was no need to waste her time on these childish games. The next morning, Yi Wanwan reverted back to her outrageous get-up and went to class as usual. Just as she stepped inside, the chaotic classroom became silent in an instant. The students in class stared at her with gleaming eyes and a hopeful expression. Yi Wanwan was a little annoyed. These people made it so obvious. Were they really going to treat her like a fool who didn't know any better? All right, with her previous intellect, she really wouldn't have known any better. Yi Wanwan acted blissfully unaware and walked straight to her seat. With a glance, she realized that there was something not right about her chair. It was covered with a thick layer of colorless glue. If she hadn't looked closely, she wouldn't have seen it and would have sat right on it. With this type of strong glue, a person stuck to the chair would have to remove their pants to get up. Although it wouldn't cause any substantial damage, she'd be embarrassed in front of all her classmates. Yi Wanwan looked at the Xia who was sprawled on the table, napping as usual, and silently muttered fatale. Just as she pulled out the chair, somebody suddenly rushed up to her side, pushed her aside, and then quickly pulled out her chair. The chair was dragged to the front, the sunlight illuminating it clearly so everybody could see the layer of glue on the chair clearly. The Xia that was asleep was woken up by the piercing screech. His irritated gaze swept across Yi Wanwan and Ling Dong, standing in front, and then glanced at the chair. He furrowed his brows. Yi Wanwan didn't notice Xia's reaction. Her brows were raised, and she was looking at Ling Dong who'd suddenly appeared. What's the meaning of this? Being stared at by those black pupils, Ling Dong's originally arrogant and defiant expression suddenly froze up. He pulled her chair to his own seat and exchanged it for Yi Wanwan's without saying a word. That wasn't all. Under the stares of all his astonished classmates, Ling Dong reached his arm out again and removed a dead rat from Yi Wanwan's desk drawer. After seeing the dead rat, Some timid girls shrieked in disgust. Ling Dong threw the dead rat away expressionlessly, and then shone a light from his phone into the drawer to check that there was nothing else inside before telling Yi Wan in a low and muffled voice, "Take a seat." He didn't dare to look into Yi Wan's eyes after speaking. He went back to his seat, took off his jacket, covered the glue, and then simply sat on it. Yi Wan. Aside from Yi Wan, the whole classroom was in total silence as everybody was confused by Ling Dong's actions. Such absurdity so early in the morning. What's the meaning of this? Why would Ling Dong help Yi Wan? Especially Cheng Shui, whose elegant and pretty face was enraged, stared at Ling Dong in disbelief, not believing what she had just seen. Damn, Dong, what's going on? I thought we said that we'd teach that ugly freak a lesson today? Ling Dong's deskmate, the cropped hair guy, asked. Ling Dong's looked slightly annoyed. Shut up. Does it look like I have to explain my actions to you? Oh, his deskmate shut his mouth immediately. Chapter 75. One of my people, damn. What's going on? I thought there'd be a good show today. Why would Ling Dong help Yi Wan? Who knows? It's totally crazy. Maybe he was put in place by Zhao Xingzhou's torture? How could Ling Dong, this little lord, have any fear? It's good enough if he doesn't make things worse. In the midst of all the discussion, Yi Wan sat down on Ling Dong's chair. She had been prepared for trouble, but what happened was beyond her expectations. Had Ling Dong really been put in his place by Zhao Xingzhou's torture? Or, Yi Wan vaguely recalled that Ling Dong accidentally saw how she looked without her makeup last night. His actions couldn't be related to that, right? Shortly, the bell indicating the start of lessons rang, and the classroom quieted down again. Yi Wan didn't give it any further thought. She looked at the phone in her drawer, unfocused. From last night till now, Si Han hadn't contacted her after he sent Sui to take her back to school. According to his reaction yesterday, he shouldn't be angry anymore, right? Actually, she did take a risk yesterday after all. If Si Han had completely lost his senses in his fury and locked her up without letting her explain, the consequences would have been dire. Fortunately, her efforts so far hadn't been wasted. Si Han hadn't completely believed Shin Mengqi's words and went to investigate things himself. After class, the students continued to stare in the direction of Yi Wan and whispered, after holding things in for an entire lesson. Watching Cheng Shui and 3 of her die-hard followers walking up to Yi Wan aggressively, everybody was alert again. Ugly freak, come out. We have something for you. One of the girls with a sharp chin barked harshly. Usually, people called out after class would be brought to the girls' washroom to be bullied. Even though Yi Wan didn't want to entertain these childish fights, being bothered all the time affected her mood too. She shot them a cold glare and replied leisurely, "Sure. What are you waiting for? Hurry up." The girl couldn't wait and started to drag her as another girl next to her started pulling her as well. Xia, who was lying on the table asleep, looked up and his brows twitched when he saw the scene before him. Just as he was about to speak, a dark and cold voice sounded from behind him, who said you guys could touch her. Ling Dong stood at the classroom door with a big plastic bag in his hand, his expression terrifying. Although Ling Dong didn't look as handsome as Xia, he was good-looking in his own way. It was just that his temperament was completely different from Xia's. He was like a rebellious wolf, violence buzzing throughout his body, and was unusually vicious when he fought. People feared him when they saw him every day. His current expression made everybody quiver to the bone. Seeing that Ling Dong was standing behind them with that face, the 3 girls were startled by his scary expression. "Dong, brother Dong?" One of the girls summoned the courage to explain, "Dong, this ugly freak was too hateful. Not only did she snatch up Cheng Shui's role, she also made you suffer so much. We merely wanted to teach her a lesson to avenge you." Ling Dong's gaze swept across the 3 girls and everybody in the classroom. Making sure to enunciate every syllable, he said, "Since none of you understood me just now, let me say it again. From now on, Yi Wan is one of my people. Whoever touches her again is going against me, Ling Dong." Chapter 76. Not a fight, but a date. The 3 girls. All the students in class. Yuan herself was dumbfounded. The three girls looked at each other and took a long while to regain their senses. Then they hurriedly pressed on Dong. Brother Dong, what are you saying? What do you mean Yuan is one of your people? Dong, did you make a mistake somewhere? Ling Dong's face was filled with annoyance. I meant what I said, literally. Yuan is one of my people. Nobody is allowed to touch her. Don't you understand English? If you understand, then get lost already. The three of them were Cheng Shui's diehard followers and were, at the same time, close to Ling Dong. This was the first time Ling Dong had used such a harsh tone with them, and their eyes turned red after being yelled at. At first, they wanted to protest more, but after seeing Ling Dong's terrifying expression, they didn't dare and could only stomp their feet and rush to Cheng Shui. After the three of them left, Ling Dong looked at Yuan again, and his initial ferocious expression became stiff and raw. After hesitating for a few moments, Ling Dong turned, shoved the big bag of snacks he was holding into Yuan's arms and said in a low voice, "For you?" Yuan looked at the snacks, her expression confused as she continued in silence. Ling Dong stood in front of her desk without indicating any intentions of leaving. He looked hesitant to speak, and each time he opened his mouth to say something, he'd swallow his words. This went on a few times before he finally took a deep breath and stuttered. Yuan, are you free tonight after school? Tonight? A phrase subconsciously appeared in Yuan's head. A phrase people usually said whenever they wanted a fight. Don't leave after school? Is he preparing to teach me a lesson himself after school? Ling Dong must have felt that Yuan misunderstood, so he quickly added, There's a newly opened barbecue shop near school. Do you want to go together? My treat. All the students crowded around. Damn, why is this turning more and more bizarre? Yuan furrowed her brows with all her strength. What's going on? It's not a fight, but a date? Wait. Sorry, Ling Dong. I don't understand it all. What kind of trick is this? Yuan was straight to the point. Actually, everybody crowding around didn't understand either. It was understandable if Ling Dong didn't dare to touch Yuan because of Zhao Xingzhou, but even so, he didn't have to go so far as to say things like Yuan was one of his people, right? And now, he's even asking her out for dinner tonight? What exactly happened in those short 2 days off from school? Hearing Yuan's words, Ling Dong's face turned ugly as he said unhappily, It's not a trick. Yuan smiled. Ling Dong, straightforward people don't resort to insinuations. What on earth are you thinking? Just come out with it. Ling Dong stood and stared at her. His knuckles clenched so tightly that they started cracking. Just as Yuan thought that he was going to hit her, she heard him suddenly say, Yuan, I like you. Yuan was stunned. Huh? Puff. Cough. Xia, who was watching nonchalantly at the side, couldn't hold back anymore. He choked and started coughing violently. All the students in the classroom gasped, and everyone looked like they had just seen a ghost. Damn, what did I just hear? Dong actually confessed to that ugly freak? Yuan. Ling Dong's friend's jaw nearly fell off. Another guy's face was filled with shock. Dong, are you crazy? Chapter 77. Boyfriend material. Yuan was caught off guard as she was confessed to in front of everybody. At that moment, her heart was in despair. She just kept thinking that it's all over. She'd recently escaped death and gone through a disaster. Who knew that right after, Ling Dong would cause more trouble? Where had it all gone wrong? Could it be that to take revenge on me, Ling Dong plans to dump me after winning me over? Yuan quickly disregarded this possibility, since this would involve too much sacrifice on the part of the enemy himself. As long as Ling Dong wasn't out of his mind, he'd never use this kind of sacrificial method to take revenge. This couldn't really be because of last night, could it? If this wasn't a trick, this could be the only reason. He'd only seen her without makeup, and besides, it was a quick glance. She hadn't thought much of it at the time, and also thought that since Ling Dong was tipsy, he might not have seen her clearly. Who knew that just a glance would land her in such a big trouble? This devilish, superficial world. Ling Dong was quite popular in school, and news of this big shot, confessing his love for Qing He's infamous ugly girl, would definitely spread through the school within half a day. It'd only be a matter of time before Si Han found out too. With Ce Han's temperament, just this incident alone could cause all her efforts to go down the drain. Yuan thought she'd have at least a few days of peace. Her heart was so tired that she didn't want to speak. Lingdong, I think you need to see an eye doctor. Yuan rested her hand on forehead and spoke feebly. What Yuan had said echoed everyone's thoughts. Everybody nodded. Lingdong's die-hard followers even silently added, not just the eye doctor but a psychologist as well. Lingdong wrinkled his brows and stared at the girl. He enunciated every single word he said clearly. Yuan, I'm serious. Yuan naturally wanted to reject. She couldn't let anybody get a hold over her. But she couldn't possibly talk about her boyfriend in front of everyone. If the school found out about her puppy love, that would be a violation of school rules and she'd be penalized again. She didn't have a school director as her father like Lingdong, so she couldn't act impulsively. Thus, Yuan could only say, sorry, whether this is a trick or for real, I have no interest in you. Lingdong stiffened up. Why? Why aren't you interested in me? Yuan saw that Lingdong was standing there stubbornly, his expression unusually serious and looking like he wouldn't give up without an answer. She could only reply, because you aren't boyfriend material. What are your standards? How am I lacking? Tell me, I can change. Lingdong said immediately. Damn. Is Dong under a curse? This is definitely not Dong. He must be possessed. Damn, what did this ugly freak do to Dong? Everyone thought at first that Lingdong would definitely be enraged after Yuan's rejection. Who knew that he'd so submissive and even offer to change for her? Lingdong's die-hard followers were completely confused, in addition to the students gathered around them. Everyone felt that their senses had been assaulted by an atomic bomb. Yuan sighed. Lingdong, don't blame me, this was what you asked for. Thus, Yuan replied, my first standard is, be at least 1,800 times better looking than Xia. Lingdong was stunned for a long while before regaining his senses. Are you kidding? Xia, who'd been dragged into this for no reason at all. Yuan's face was grave. I'm serious. Chapter 78. More like he's blind by the end of the day. This explosive news had spread throughout Qinghe and even other high schools in the area. Everybody knew about the big shot of Qinghe, Lingdong, being rejected by the ugliest girl, Yuan. They also knew about that crazy ugly girl shooting her mouth off that her standards for boyfriends were to be better looking than Xia. The school's hall. Lingdong sat far away at the last row, watching devoutly as Yuan rehearsed at the front. Even after being rejected by Yuan on the spot, he still refused to give up. On the window seat next to him was Xia. Lingdong passed a cigarette over. Xia looked down lazily and refused it. Seeing that he didn't take it, Lingdong lit the cigarette himself and took a long drag. Then, he said sternly, Xia, Yuan is the girl I'm after. If we're brothers, then don't go overboard with the kissing scene. You gotta pretend. Xia's indifferent expression seemed to crack for a moment. You're overthinking it. Lingdong also felt that he was overthinking it, since Xia couldn't even get close to Yuan's face. So, Yuan's current getup was extremely safe. So, Lingdong lightly coughed. Xia, why don't we strike a deal? Give this role to me, all right? I'll sort this out with the teacher. Since little Shui doesn't want you to be intimate with Yuan, then both of you shouldn't act. I'll cover for you instead. Isn't this the best of both worlds? After hearing this, Xia opened his eyes widely and looked at him, seemingly considering his offer. Lingdong's best friends couldn't tolerate it anymore, and they rushed to Lingdong with frightened expressions. Dong, calm down, Dong. Why were you so pessimistic? Another guy's face was also bitter. Dong, what happened? When did your taste become so particular? While the two brothers were fussing, Lingdong recalled yesterday evening's fleeting glimpse, and his ears immediately turned red. Initially, he wanted to defend himself, but finally, he only scolded them gruffly. What do you guys know? He'd never tell anybody the truth. He liked the feeling of being the only one who knew her secret. Anyway, if everybody knew, he'd have a lot more rivals. Dong. Cheng Shui quickly walked to Lingdong, so angry that her beautiful little face looked distorted. Dong, what exactly are you doing? Don't tell me that you really fell in love with that ugly freak? Yuan. She wouldn't tolerate it even if Ling Dong took Xixia's place. How could Ling Dong be together with that ugly freak Yuan? Ling Dong looked at the raging Cheng Shui. Yeah, I really fell for her. Cheng Shui choked. Are you crazy? You could fall for anyone but you fell for her? Do you know what everyone is saying about you? They're saying that your brain is fried. Then my brain is fried. Ling Dong blew out smoke with a smug expression. Huh, is his brain fried? More like he's blind. Xixia, what do you think? Ling Dong looked at Xixia again and asked nervously. At this moment, someone in front yelled, Xixia, it's your turn. Xixia's back stiffened and he looked at Yuan's bloody red lips like she'd just swallowed a child. After a long while, he said, I'll consider it. He glanced at the time on his watch and hurriedly said, I've got to go. Chapter 79. Do I look single? As Xixia had to run at the last minute, the final act couldn't be rehearsed and so everybody left. He must have scared Xixia, so he ran off to hide. Speaking of which, Xixia wouldn't really give the role of the prince to Ling Dong, would he? I think it's possible. If someone was a sucker and volunteered to cover for him, it wouldn't make sense not to take the opportunity. I couldn't tell that the ugly freak, Yuan, had such cunning. What magic potion did she give Ling Dong? In the small hall, the girls were still secretly discussing amongst themselves, but once Ling Dong shot a sinister glare across at them, they all turned pale instantly and quickly packed up to leave. After glaring at those people, Ling Dong walked to Yuan. His ferocious expression immediately became stiff and uncertain. It's fine if you don't want to have dinner with me. I'll walk you back to your dormitory. Yuan furrowed her brows. Ling Dong, I've told you before. Ling Dong immediately interrupted her. I know I'm not good-looking enough, but I'll treat you really well. You can't just go by my looks. Hearing that, the corners of Yuan's mouth twitched. Doesn't he see the irony in saying this? You have feelings for me all of a sudden because you saw how I looked without makeup last night, right? Yuan asked bluntly. Ling Dong didn't deny it and nodded. Yup. Yuan raised her brows. So you like me just for my looks? Ling Dong pursed his lips. I admit that I really like your face, You're really beautiful. And a beautiful girl is a man's desire. I don't think there's anything wrong with liking you because of the way you look. Yuan was slightly dumbfounded by Ling Dong's confidence and courage, and she could only reply, Actually, I have a boyfriend already. What did you say? Upon hearing that, Ling Dong's expression changed. After a long time, he calmed down. You don't have to be like this. Yuan was helpless. Do I look single? Ling Dong frowned. That's not what I meant. She couldn't blame him for not believing her. After all, Yuan had always worn such terrifying makeup. How could she possibly have a boyfriend? Your boyfriend fulfills your requirement? Ling Dong asked. Yuan nodded her head with certainty. Yes. But after Yuan said that, Ling Dong's face instantly turned black and was even more convinced that she was lying. Yuan, you don't have to find any more excuses to lie to me. You have the right to reject me and I have the right to chase you. I won't give up. Yuan sighed. Then what should I do to make you believe I told the truth? Why does everybody doubt that I have a boyfriend? They're all too judgmental with appearances. Don't they understand that someone with exotic taste could actually like a girl like me? Ling Dong looked at Yuan and gave it some thought before replying. Unless I see him with my own eyes. See him with your own eyes? Bringing Si Han to meet a boy who likes me and is currently wooing me. Do I want to die? Well, no. It's not impossible to get a substitute boyfriend to meet Ling Dong. Yuan seriously hesitated for a long time before finally looking at Ling Dong and asked tentatively, You're sure that you'll give up after seeing him? Ling Dong didn't fall into her trap and replied cautiously, Of course, if he's really outstanding like you said, 1,800 times better looking than Xixia. All right. It looks like randomly dragging a person to cover up for me is impossible. Where can I find a guy 1,800 times better looking than Xixia? Fine, let me think about it. My boyfriend is pretty busy. I'll let you know when I've made an appointment, Yuan replied. Ling Dong went along with it without a worry, sure? Chapter 80. Ruining the picturesque view. Ling Dong insisted on personally escorting Yi Wanwan back to the dormitory, and you could imagine what the walk back was like. Onlookers could only see a tall and handsome boy in a basketball outfit, following in the footsteps of a girl next to him like a guardian angel, completely winning over any teenage girl's heart. However, the girl whom he was escorting ruined the picturesque view completely with her scary, explosive hair, thick, smoky makeup, and bright red bloody lips. It was an awful sight to behold. Oh my God, that ugly freak, Yi Wanwan, actually has a suitor. Not to mention that her suitor is actually the big boss of Qing He. I thought that was just a rumor. This is unbelievable. Amongst the crowd of onlookers, Shunmeng Qi looked at both of them from afar. Seeing the way Qing He's big shot was so attentive to Yi Wanwan, her face stiffened for a moment. She thought that she'd see Yi Wanwan looking devastated today, but who knew that she'd be totally fine, making such a big splash at school? At the entrance of the girls' dormitory, after Ling Dong left, Shunmeng Qi hurriedly ran towards Yi Wanwan and looked in the direction of Ling Dong's retreating back. She asked hesitantly with concern, "Wanwan, what's going on between you and Ling Dong?" At that moment, Shunmeng Qi had two girls behind her. The girl on the left was in a white Chanel ladylike skirt and stood there proudly, looking disapprovingly at Yi Wanwan. She said with condescension, "On one hand you're getting ideas about Xixia and on the other, you're hooking up with Ling Dong. You seriously have no shame." Hearing what Zhang Yanran said, Shunmeng Qi felt pleased. She hid away her joyful expression and warned Zhang Yanran affectionately, "Yanran, don't say that about Wanwan. She isn't that sort of person. They're probably just ordinary friends." Zhang Yanran's delicate little face was scornful and full of disdain. How can they be ordinary friends? He's already confessed in public and even acted as her guardian angel. How is this normal for ordinary friends? The average-looking girl in her school uniform on the right side of Shunmeng Qi said sarcastically, "How does this ugly freak even hook up with a man when she looks so hideous? How does she do it?" The commotion with Shunmeng Qi's group caused quite a few girls to crowd around to join in on the criticism. After hearing what Fang Qin said, the crowd of onlookers looked at each other and speculated, "Tisk, could it be her skills in bed?" Shunmeng Qi protected her anxiously. "There must be a misunderstanding." Zhang Yanran folded her arms, seeing that Shunmeng Qi spoke up for Yi Wanwan and scowled. "Meng Qi, why are you still hanging out with this kind of person? Don't you find her gross?" Shunmeng Qi gloated beneath her eyes, but on the surface, she acted like she was in a difficult position, being sandwiched between Yi Wanwan and Zhang Yanran. "Yanran, don't say that. Wanwan is actually quite pitiful. With her family the way it is, I can't possibly leave her when she's at rock bottom." Zhang Yanran sneered, "Meng Qi, you're too kind and too soft-hearted. As the saying goes, that miserable man must have some flaw causing all the misery. Her family is a wreck because of her father's wickedness, her own corrupted behavior, and her complicated personal life. Is this kind of person worthy of your sympathy? She's so cunning, sitting next to Xixia even after cheating on the exam and bumping Cheng Shui out of her rightful place in the show. She's even capable of hooking up with the boss of Qing He." All the other girls crowded around nodded in agreement and condemned her. Chapter 81. Shouldn't you know best? Yi Wanwan watched coldly as Shunmeng Qi used Zhang Yanran and Fang Qin as ammo and continuously fired shots at her. She couldn't help but sneer in her heart. This was familiar to her. It was just like this in her previous life as well. Shunmeng Qi hid at the back and pretended to be the good guy each time, while Zhang Yanran and Fang Qin stepped forward in her place to fight. Previously, she'd shared a dorm with Shunmeng Qi, Zhang Yanran, and Fang Qin. Her relationship with Zhang Yanran wasn't so bad at the beginning, while Fang Qin was a complete pushover. She didn't dare to offend anybody. So, she didn't know Zhang Yanran and Fang Qin slowly started to exclude her and requested the school for a change of dorms. It was a long time before she found out that there were rumors that she was always being picked up in luxurious cars and had intimate relationships with people outside school because of her sugar daddy. As the rumors about her spread, nobody wanted to live with her, and so she was switched to a room by herself. It was easy to guess where all these rumors came from and why Zhang Yanran and Fang Qin believed them. Yi Wanwan smiled faintly and glanced at Shun Mingqi. You still want to pretend to be innocent? I want to see how Jiang Yin-ran and Fang Qin react after seeing the true face of this kind and innocent girl. Shin Mingqi was good at manipulating people's hearts. Her two-faced tactics managed to create quite a few connections for her, and she stepped on all these people, one by one, to climb higher and higher. Of course, she wasn't the only one. Jiang Yin-ran was one of them as well. Her father was a veteran in the entertainment circle, and the Jiang Yin-ran of the future was an internationally known director. The film which led Shan Mingqi to stardom was directed by her. However, this talented director's fate was tragic in the end. During the peak of her career, she committed suicide by slitting her wrist and died in the bathtub at home. As for her cause of death, there were many speculations. The reported cause was depression, but the truth was that her husband Song Zihang had cheated on her and the mistress was her good friend, the lead actress whom she had groomed herself, Shan Mingqi. Jiang Yin-ran and Song Zihang grew up together. Jiang Yin-ran had always loved Song Zihang deeply, but Song Zihang only loved her like a sibling and married her because of the pressure from his parents. Jiang Yin-ran only found out on her deathbed that the person who'd captured Song Zihang's heart was actually the person she was closest to and trusted the most. At this time 7 years ago, Jiang Yin-ran wasn't dating Song Zihang yet, but Song Zihang and Shin Mingqi were already fooling around way before that. Like the way she used to tackle her brother, Shin Mingqi's way of dealing with men was to not accept but also not to reject. She'd keep them hanging, waiting for their anticipation to spike and reaping the biggest gains. She also especially enjoyed the thrill of stealing men away from others. As all of these thoughts swirled around in her head, Yuanwan replied nonchalantly, Mingqi, shouldn't you know best about what's going on between me and Ling Dong? Me? I've only just found out. Shin Mingqi's face was filled with confusion. She wasn't sure why, but Yuanwan's expression made her feel a little uneasy. Yuanwan replied with certainty, I told you before that I overheard Ling Dong losing a bet to some of his friends, so he had to court me. At first, I thought they were joking. I didn't think that Ling Dong would really court me. Don't you remember? Hearing what Yuanwan said about Ling Dong courting her due to a lost bet, the onlookers suddenly understood. If that's the case, everything makes sense. When did you say that? Shin Mingqi furrowed her brows. Chapter 82. She reveals her true nature. Just as Shin Mingqi was about to deny what Yuanwan had said, Yuanwan glanced at Jiang Yin-ran inadvertently, then gave a thoughtful expression and reminded Shin Mingqi, it was the end of last month. Weren't you with Song Zihang at the amusement park? It was probably too loud, so maybe you couldn't hear me clearly? The moment Shin Mingqi heard these words, her face turned pale and she looked at Jiang Yin-ran in panic. Damn it. She did go to the amusement park with Song Zihang last month, and that time, Yuanwan had called her for some reason. As she was enjoying Song Zihang's attention, she didn't have the strength to entertain Wanwan, so she simply sent her off with a few words and hung up. But how did Yuanwan know where I was? Could it be that I accidentally blurted it out? Damn, and this dumb girl had to talk about this in front of Jiang Yin-ran. Sure enough, Jiang Yin-ran's expression changed immediately. What did you say? Last month, Shin Mingqi and Song Zihang went to the amusement park? Fang Qin was also a little shocked. It was Yin-ran's birthday that day. Yin-ran especially invited Song Zihang and was prepared to confess her love to him. In the end, Song Zihang didn't show up, and you also said that you couldn't make it since you were sick. Why were you with Song Zihang that day? The girls around them were all stunned as well. Jiang Yin-ran like Song Zihang? Not many people knew about this, but Shin Mingqi was Jiang Yin-ran's roommate, and they were very close. There was no way she didn't know. Since Shin Mingqi was clearly aware that Jiang Yin-ran liked Song Zihang, and that she was prepared to confess her love to him on her birthday, why would Shin Mingqi lie to Jiang Yin-ran about feeling sick and going out with Song Zihang? The expression of the onlookers staring at Shin Mingqi changed in an instant. Going behind a good friend's back to seduce the person she likes. Completely shameful. Yuanwan heard Fang Qin's words and immediately looked anxious, like she had said something wrong, but her eyes were gleaming. Did I say something wrong? Saying those words increased her credibility. As everybody knew that Shin Mingqi and Yuanwan were on very good terms, Jiang Yin-ran trusted those rumors about Yuanwan that Shin Mingqi said previously. On the contrary, She also believed what Yuan Wan had just accidentally revealed. Furthermore, Jiang Yin wasn't a fool. She had her suspicions as well but wasn't completely sure. Sure enough, Jiang Yin immediately took out her phone with shaky hands and opened the message Song Ziheng posted on his moments at the end of last month. Song Ziheng had set a mood. Love of my life. I'll wait for you to graduate. The accompanying picture was a photo taken at the amusement park. There were no real people in the photo, but only two elongated shadows of a guy and girl. This obviously meant that Song Ziheng had confessed his love for the girl, but the girl had told him that they could only be together after her graduation. After her birthday, Jiang Yin saw this message and knew that Song Ziheng didn't go to her birthday party because he wanted to confess his love to a girl whom he liked for a long time. But she never would have expected that the true love Song Ziheng hid from her, the person she really wanted to find out, was someone she actually viewed as her best friend, Shunming Qi. No wonder Song Ziheng never told me who it was. The person he was protecting so fiercely was actually just by my side. At that moment, Jiang Yin stared at Shunming Qi in disbelief. Shunming Qi, tell me what's going on here. The person that Song Ziheng liked all this time is you? Chapter 83. You need two hands to clap. Shunming Qi never expected that a thoughtless remark from Yuan Wan would land her in such big trouble. She wished she could tear her apart on the spot. But since everything was already out in the open, she could only suppress her anger and plead. Yin, listen to me. It's not what you think. I had a reason for being with Song Ziheng that day. I did it for you. Oh, so the person who was with him that day was really you. So, you're admitting it? The person that Song Ziheng liked all along is you. Jiang Yin started laughing hysterically all of a sudden. Ha? Ha ha. Shunming Qi. I even shared all my feelings with you every day like a fool. Shared with you my thoughts on the identity of the girl that Song Ziheng liked. Was it entertaining for you to watch me be so stupid? To watch me love him to death while the person he liked was you? Do you feel accomplished? You clearly knew that I had prepared so long to confess my love for him on my birthday, and that I was so nervous I couldn't sleep for countless nights. Knowing all that, you still went out with him that day behind my back, and now you dare to say that you were doing it for me? Shunming Qi hurriedly replied. I wanted to make it clear to him. Jiang Yin sneered and looked at Song Ziheng's post on her phone. Then she forcefully shoved her phone onto Shunming Qi's face. Make it clear? You made it clear like that? Shunming Qi's nose had been jolted so hard by the phone that tears started flowing. She covered her face and said, Yin, let me explain. I told him that I only wanted to focus on my studies and rejected him. But he may have misunderstood what I meant and thought that I wanted to be with him after graduation. Listening to Shunming Qi's excuse, Jiang Yin's face turned gloomier. She said with a face of full rage, Shut up. Song Ziheng told me himself. He said that the girl admitted to having feelings towards him, that you kissed him yet you're still trying to defend yourself. Get lost. I don't want to hear any more about the both of you. Disgusting. That day, she had gone to find Song Ziheng and saw for herself that his eyes were filled with happiness. He told her that the person he liked had accepted his love. If it weren't for Shunming Qi giving him hope, why would he have that sort of reaction? Shunming Qi didn't expect that Song Ziheng would tell Jiang Yin about this, so her face went pale and she was speechless. Looking at Shunming Qi's reaction, the onlookers understood everything. After Jiang Yin finished talking, she forcibly pushed through the crowd and staggered away. Fang Qin looked at Jiang Yin hesitantly and then turned to Shunming Qi. In the end, she hurriedly chased after Jiang Yin. The crowd had initially gathered to watch a spectacle involving Yuan Wan, but unexpectedly bumped into this huge news about two girls fighting over a boy. They all glared at Shunming Qi and started whispering. I really couldn't tell that Shunming Qi could do something like that. She looks so simple-minded. She knew that Jiang Yin liked Song Ziheng all along, but still hooked up with Song Ziheng behind her back. She's really cruel. Maybe it was one-sided and Song Ziheng was the one chasing her? It takes two hands to clap, okay? Didn't you hear what Jiang Yin said about the girl voluntarily kissing Song Ziheng? That's true. Yi Wanwan stood at the same spot and watched silently at the back of Jiang Yin ran staggering off, and she felt a strange sense of kinship as if they suffered from the same disease. This person, Jiang Yin ran, drew a clear line between her friends and foes and showed intense feelings for both, as shown by the hatred towards her and the intense love towards Song Ziheng. The Jiang Yin ran from her previous life insisted on being with Song Ziheng even after she found out he didn't like her. She even begged her parents to pressure him and was finally met with a tragic ending. Would anything change this time after finding about Song Ziheng and Shinming Qi in advance? What would her choice be? Would she continue to forgive him, or would she let go? However, this was no longer something she had the energy to care about. She still needed to figure out how to deal with Ling Dong. Her words just now had tampered down the school rumors and dragged Shinming Qi down, but she still had to deal with Si Han. What should I do? Call him and ask if he can help me ward off a suitor. Chapter 84. Treat him as my own brother. While she was thinking, she felt Shinming Qi glaring fiercely in her direction. Yi Wanwan raised her brows innocuously and asked leisurely, Ming Qi, I didn't know things would turn out like that. You won't blame me, will you? Shinming Qi was so pissed listening to all the nasty whispers around her, but she could only force herself to hold it in and hide the darkness beneath her eyes. She forced a laugh. Wanwan, why would I blame you? You didn't do it on purpose. Shinming Qi spoke through gritted teeth, and her eyes swept across the people who remained. Then, she explained to her urgently, Actually, Yin Ran misunderstood me. Why would I steal her sweetheart? Song Ziheng did in fact like me, and has always been courting me, but I've never responded to him, and even when I make things clear with him. He took the chance and kissed me when I wasn't paying attention. I didn't make the first move. I wasn't expecting it at all. I was afraid that Yin Ran would misunderstand, so I kept it from her, but who could have guessed that you? Since Yin Ran was gone and Song Ziheng wasn't there, nobody knew the truth. Shinming Qi tried to smooth everything over and push the blame onto Yi Wanwan instead. Yi Wanwan didn't give the game away either. She responded as if she just had a sudden revelation. That's what I said. The person you like is obviously my brother. Shinming Qi was startled by what she said and then corrected her sternly. Wanwan, don't spout nonsense. I've always treated Mu Fan as my own older brother. I liked him only as an older brother. Now that Star Entertainment under the Shin family was thriving, she'd become a big star in future. With a bright future ahead of her, there would be countless boys chasing her. She didn't want to have anything to do with that good-for-nothing loser, Mu Fan. She was holding on to him only because he had some value she could use. What Shinming Qi said about treating Mu Fan like her own brother was enough to make Yi Wanwan choke in disgust. As if she didn't know what Shinming Qi was truly thinking about. She sneered in her heart and asked suspiciously, Really? I personally mailed out the love letter you gave my brother. The letter was very mushy, something like, I fell in love with you when I first saw you. You are the perfect god in my heart. It turns out I was wrong. That's considered liking someone as a brother? And I thought you looked down on my brother because of what happened to my dad. The attentive crowd suddenly let out a sigh, revealing that they understood clearly, and they looked at Shinming Qi with even more disgust. With regards to Shinming Qi's explanation, they were doubtful of her, and most still stood by Jiang Yinran's side. Hearing what Yi Wanwan said now, they suddenly felt that Shinming Qi was indeed guilty of despising the poor and seeking favor with the rich. Yi Wanwan's elder brother, Mu Fan, was also a popular figure in Qinghe previously, and many people knew about Shinming Qi chasing after him. Now she's saying that she views him as a brother? Who would believe her? Shinming Qi was stunned. Wanwan, that was so long ago. I was still young and ignorant. I didn't know what love was. Also, how can I possibly distance myself from you and Mu Fan because of what happened to your family? If those were my intentions, why would I be so close to you, and even help your brother get into my father's company? Shinming Qi suddenly gained some confidence. She laughed and said, Other than his hobby of gambling, Mu Fan's quite hardworking at work. My dad even complimented him a few days ago. As long as Mu Fan works hard, my dad will never treat him badly. Chapter 85. Took advantage of him. Shinming Qi acted like she blurted out Yi Wanwan's brother's gambling habits by accident, though though her seemingly sincere tone had an obvious superiority to it. Hearing this, the blood in Yi Wan's heart surged, resulting in a taste of iron in her throat. In the past, Shun Hongbin was one of her father's footmen, but now, her proud brother was reduced to being a slave for the Shun family. He thought that he was making a sacrificing for love, and worked hard for the Shin family, even helping them produce for a big group of popular artists. Due to the advantages gained from Si Han, the A-list director, Jiang Yanran, and her brother who was known globally as the god of style consultant, the Shin family's company thrived. Their status even kept up with the Yi family in the entertainment business 7 years in the future. As for Yi Wan's brother, in order to win Shan Mengqi's hand in marriage, he tired himself out and contracted many illnesses at a young age. In the end, his body collapsed. After his value had been squeezed dry, he was kicked out by the Shun family. The Shin family didn't want to be the subject of ridicule, so they got people to frame him of breaking an unspoken entertainment business rule, causing him to lose his reputation, be blacklisted by everybody in the entertainment circle, resulting in great despair to him. She was able to make Jiang Yanran see Shun Mengqi's true self, but couldn't get her own brother to regain his senses. In the past, her brother was also very charming himself. He could go through 1,000,000 pretty girls without being tempted. He had innumerable girlfriends, but then fell for Shan Mengqi. He treated Shan Mengqi specially, spoiled her, and treated her better than his own sister. With her ruined relationship with her brother now, if she talked bad about Shin Mengqi, not only would he not believe her, it would also worsen their relationship. Until she found someone who could expose Shin Mengqi and allow her brother to thoroughly see the evidence of the Shin family's true colors, then could he be saved. However, it's okay to take it slow. Jiang Yanran was just the beginning. Looking at Shin Mengqi, Yi Wan acted surprised and said, "My brother is a top style consultant and has the title of the god of style in the industry. When Global Entertainment, the rival of Imperial Sky, came to poach him, he didn't even agree to go over. Who knew that some casual words from you could persuade him to switch to your company?" Although the Shin family's Polystar Entertainment completely crushed Global Entertainment 7 years in the future and became on par with the Yi family's Imperial Sky, currently the Shun family's company was still lagging far behind these two dominant forces. Once those words had been spoken, the girls around them naturally began to follow the direction of Yi Wan's thinking. If Shin Mengqi and Yi Mu Fan really had nothing going on, why would Yi Mu Fan be so submissive to her words? Give up the opportunity with the leading global entertainment and run over to Polystar? Also, what Yi Wan said was obviously hinting that the Shin family took advantage of him while still acting as if they were doing him a favor. Shin Mengqi's face changed slightly. She forced a smile and said, "After all, Mu Fan and I have known each other for ages, so he trusts whatever I say. Even though Polystar isn't as big as Global, it has potential for growth. Mu Fan is very talented, but after you know what happened with your father, it's no longer so easy for him to work with a big company. Oh, Wan, I'll talk to you again soon. I'm worried about Yanran. I'm going to go look for her." Shin Mengqi never expected that Yi Wan would be so difficult today. Even after giving her best effort in her verbal match with Yi Wan in front of the crowd, she was left with almost no room to refute her. To prevent Yi Wan from making an irrefutable counter, Shan Mengqi hurriedly found an excuse and left. Chapter 86. I am no god. Yi Wan watched as Shun Mengqi fled, and the corners of her lips curled upwards a little. After what happened today, no matter how Shin Mengqi tried to explain or hide her behavior, everybody would have a changed impression of her and her attitude. According to her understanding of Shun Mengqi, she was probably thirsting for revenge after suffering such a big defeat. Back at her dorm, Yi Wan immediately took out her phone and looked up Si Han's number. She decided to take a risk one more time. To Si Han, lying and running away were the greatest sins, so this was probably tame in comparison. What was there to lose by being honest? At the same time, just as Yi Wan expected, Shun Mengqi was boiling inside. Jiang Yanran and Fang Qin weren't in the dorm. She looked at her face, which had been smashed by the phone. It was rapidly swelling up. With one furious sweep of her arm, she sent everything on the table crashing to the ground. Damn it, this is all that dumb Yi Wan's fault. That dummy actually dared to bring up my old flame. Yimu Fan. Yimu Fan is only a dog in my family's company now. How can he compare? He's like a toad wanting to be a swan. Yuan Wan, I definitely won't let you off so easy. Shin Meng-chi pulled out her phone with a gloomy expression. She sneered and quickly drafted a message. Mr. C, Wan Wan's been hanging out with some bad company lately. She's very close to a troublemaker at school. She clearly knows that he has bad intentions. I'm worried that Wan Wan will be foolish and get tricked by him. I really don't understand why she keeps doing things to harm her relationship with you when you're such a good person and treats her so well, Mr. C. Shin Meng-chi twisted the truth with just a few words. On the surface, she acted like she cared about Yi Wan Wan's safety, but in reality, she actually didn't care at all. When it came to snitching on people, Shin Meng-chi was top-notch. Aside from this message, she didn't forget to send over some photos of the two of them walking together. This allowed her to finally let off some steam. She didn't know what went wrong yesterday. Yuan Wan was able to go back to school like usual, but this time, with evidence in place, she would get her for sure. Late at night, Jean Garden. Sui stared at the door that had been shut for an entire day and night. He paced around anxiously. What should I do? Ninth Master has locked himself in the room for one day and one night already. Dr. Imo, aren't you a top psychologist? Think of something. Imo Xian folded his arms and leaned against the wall opposite. He was astonished. I'm a doctor, not a god. Does he think I'm omnipotent? Anyway, I'm completely useless with Si Han. There's nothing we can do, right? While Sui was freaking out, there was suddenly the sound of an incoming text nearby. Sui followed the direction of the sound and realized it was the phone Si Han threw on the floor. He picked it up to take a look and saw that there were many new message notifications on the screen. They were all from Shun Ming-chi. This woman is some lingering ghost. I already have enough to deal with. Sui cursed silently and clutched the phone tightly to prevent Si Han from hearing. Emotion looked at the phone and pondered slightly before saying, Go and check what's going on with Yuan Wan. Maybe she can lure Ninth Master out. Sui's face turned black after he heard that. Did they have to use such a terrifying method to lure the Ninth Master out? But there was no other way. If Master keeps refusing food and drink, how can his body take it? It looked like they could only fight poison with poison. Chapter 87. The boy chasing after Wan Wan, and so, Sui quickly got someone to check up on Yuan Wan. A short while later, the investigation concluded. There was a boy in school who was courting Yuan Wan openly, and the whole school knew about it. Sui was on the verge of breaking down. Yuan Wan was simply a disaster, and the consequences were too terrifying. There's someone in school that's openly chasing Ms. Yi. Dr. Imo, should we tell Ninth Master about it? Sui asked with a sullen face. Normally, when Yuan Wan spoke to other guys, Ninth Master flared up. But now, there was someone who dared to chase her. How could he continue to let Yuan Wan wander about freely? If the two of them fought again, he wanted desperately to hide this from Master. Imo Xian went blank for a while. Are you sure? With the way Yuan Wan looks, she's still able to attract a suitor? Sui nodded his head sternly. It's true. Also, it's been said that the guy is Ching He's big shot. He's the son of the school's director. He's quite good-looking and popular with the girls. He might just have a problem with his eyesight. Imo Xian pinched the space between his brows and was a bit hesitant. After deep consideration, he said, Ninth Master will find out sooner or later. Sui agreed. It's just a matter of an early or late death. So, Sui took a deep breath, knocked on the tightly shut door and pushed it open carefully. He saw that the curtains were all drawn, with only a narrow gap revealing a weak ray of light that landed on the man's face. Si Han's long body lay on the sofa, one leg bent and one hand covering his eyes to block out the light. The collar of his black shirt that was normally meticulously buttoned to the top now had 2 buttons unfastened, his devilishly handsome face morbidly pale. His presence produced a gloomy aura around him. But with this kind of aura, not only did it not hurt him, it made him look more malicious instead, like a vampire that had been in deep sleep for 1,000 years in an ancient palace. In fact, The master was 100 times more dangerous when silent than when actively enraged. Sui swallowed hard and walked over trembling. Ninth master, there are some messages for you. They were sent by Shinming-chi. She sent many messages over. It might be an emergency. In the past, as long as it was a message from Shinming-chi, Si-han gave it his full attention. But now, Si-han didn't react at all. Sui waited for a long while, so long that his limbs were going numb. So, he could only summon up his courage and tell him the news. Ninth master, there seems to be a boy in school who's courting Ms. Yi. In the next second, there was a surge of cold air and a fearsome, murderous intent entered the space. Although the man on the sofa didn't move and only kept his eyes open slightly, the atmosphere changed completely. Facing this terror, the petrified Sui was filled with fear in his heart. He grieved in silence for that boy who was blind and tempting death, and prepared himself well for whatever came next. While Sui was still extremely nervous, a sudden ringing of the phone shocked him so much that he almost tossed the phone away in fright. He quickly looked at the incoming call display, thinking that it was Shinming-chi trying to stir up trouble again, but then he saw clearly that it was actually Yi Wan. Sui's heart suddenly went to his throat. Why is Yi Wan calling at this hour? 9th. Ninth master. It's Ms. Yi calling. A video call. Chapter 88. Top-notch suck-up in the room that was as quiet and gloomy as a cemetery. Only the ringing of the phone reverberated. Sui couldn't guess what was on Si-han's mind and couldn't figure out whether he wanted to answer this call or not. He stood there, frozen, with the phone raised. He had a sense of foreboding about this call. He hoped Master would ignore it. The atmosphere became more and more unbearable with each ring. The ringing was like a bomb ticking away. Sui's nerves were frazzled, and probably because he was so flustered, his hand slipped and he accidentally pressed the button to answer. In the next second, Yi Wan's usual grotesque face appeared on the screen. Damn, it's over. At the other end, Yi Wan had waited for a very long time and saw that the phone was just about to automatically end the call. Right at that moment, the screen flashed and the video call was finally connected. The moment she saw the screen, Yi Wan's pupils contracted. She could only see the man on the screen lying on the sofa with one hand over his forehead, his collar with 2 buttons unfastened and hair in a mess. His face was abnormally pale. Even through the screen, she could feel the terrifying and dangerous aura emitting from the man's body. Judging by the angle on the screen, the phone seemed to be held by another person, possibly Sui. The display on the phone was shaking slightly, and she guessed it was Sui's hand trembling. From this slight tremble, Yi Wan was acutely aware of the dire situation and was 80% sure that Si-han had received the news already. She was a moment too late. Yi Wan pressed her lips together and squinted her eyes. Sorry, did I interrupt your sleep? Sui saw that he had answered the call accidentally and could only try to mediate the situation with his head drenched in cold sweat. Ms. Yi, Ninth Master hasn't gone to bed yet. Why are you calling this late? Is there something wrong? If there is nothing urgent. Yi Wan didn't wait for Sui to finish his sentence before nodding vigorously. Yes, I have an urgent issue. Sui, oh, Yi Wan quickly said, there was a boy in school who confessed to me, and he said he likes me. Sui almost vomited blood and his soul quivered. He knew he shouldn't have taken this call. He didn't notice that the phone was swaying back and forth, but he hoped Yi Wan would stop talking. Nonetheless, Yi Wan's mumbles continued through the phone. Could you come with me to meet this boy? Sui felt a bolt of lightning striking his head. She actually asked the Ninth Master to go with her to meet that boy? At this moment on the sofa, Si-han's half-opened eyes were now fully opened, like a wild beast waking up from its slumber. While Sui had all his hopes dashed, Yi Wan's voice continued coming through the receiver. I've told the boy that I have a boyfriend already and he didn't believe me. Do I look single? I was so mad that I agreed to bring my boyfriend for him to see on impulse. Not only do I have a boyfriend, my boyfriend's also 1,000 times better looking than our school's hunk. Sui stood rooted to the ground, completely dumbstruck as he listened and wondered whether this was some kind of trick. Yi Wan sucking up was pretty darn good. Even the man's dreary expression was stunned for a moment. As Yi Wanwan didn't get a response for a long time, she hung her head low, dejected. Sorry, did I trouble you? If it's not convenient for you, then time. The man's low and hoarse voice interrupted her from the other end of the call. Yi Wanwan was astonished for a moment before her eyes glowed. How about tomorrow night? Just outside school. Sure. Chapter 89. Because my boyfriend likes it indeed. Telling the truth will get you a lighter sentence. The next morning, Yi Wanwan went to class feeling at ease. Soon after she sat down, a shadow was cast over her head. Ling Dong stood in front of her looking calm. Seeing this, Yi Wanwan shot a suspicious gaze over. Everybody in class looked at the both of them, hungry for gossip. Ling Dong pressed his lips together, looked at Yi Wanwan with a serious face and said, Yi Wanwan, I don't know where you've heard that rumor, but I swear, I'm definitely not pursuing you because of a lost bet or tricking you. I'm serious. Please believe me. Oh, all the students around burst into an uproar. Yi Wanwan's face darkened instead. She had painstakingly thought of this idea last night to refute the rumors, but in the end, everything was ruined by this guy. Looking at the boy's hurt face, Yi Wanwan stroked her forehead in silence. The things I told you yesterday were also true? Don't you believe me? What did she tell me yesterday? The part where she said that she has a boyfriend? Yeah, right. Ling Dong replied boldly. I'll bring you to meet him tonight. Yi Wanwan replied so softly that only Ling Dong and Xia beside her could hear. Ling Dong suddenly realized who the him was, and a flicker of amazement crossed his face, but he quickly regained his composure. Sure. Finally, class ended. After dinner, there was no one in the school garden. Yi Wanwan called Ling Dong out, and both of them went to a restaurant not far away from school. Ling Dong sat on the sofa opposite her with a look of certainty, as if he had already seen through Yi Wanwan's scheme. She would either give up and say it was all an act, or she would find someone to act as her boyfriend. The latter was more probable unless the guy was blind and couldn't see her ridiculous get-up. Either way, he would never give up. Yi Wanwan naturally knew what was on Ling Dong's mind and didn't offer any explanation. She looked at the time on her phone. Si Han should arrive in about 20 minutes. Can I ask you a question? Ling Dong suddenly asked. Yi Wanwan nodded. Yes? Ling Dong stared at Yi Wanwan's heavily powdered face and coughed lightly. You're so beautiful. Why do you do this to yourself on purpose? Yi Wanwan took a sip of her juice and blinked. Because my boyfriend likes it. Ling Dong was speechless, like he got choked on dog food. Wanwan, you don't have to pretend anymore. Is it that hard to accept me? Even though I'm not as good looking as Xia, I dare say I'm not too shabby too. Anyway, when we're together, I'll never let anybody bully you, and you can walk freely in school. Ling Dong's tone was full of confidence. Of course, he had the ability to make all of that happen. Ling Dong's popularity in school was only second to that of Xia. Otherwise, his affection wouldn't have caused everybody to hate her. Yi Wanwan rested her chin. I only have feelings for my boyfriend. Ling Dong gave a helpless expression, then his eyes slightly glistened. Fine, Wanwan. Since you insist that I don't believe you, I'll start believing you now. I'll believe everything you said. Believe that you have a boyfriend and believe that your boyfriend treats you as well as you said. But what if your words are proven to be false and you were lying to me this whole time? Yi Wanwan took a big bite of caramel pudding and without thinking said, If I was lying to you, then I'll agree to be with you. After Ling Dong heard that, his face immediately brightened. Are you serious? Yi Wanwan nodded sincerely. Of course I am. Chapter 90. Girlfriend snatcher. Seconds and minutes passed, and just like that, 20 minutes flew by. However, time was up and Si Han still hadn't arrived. But after the full 20 minutes, Sui gave her a call. Hello, Ms. Yi, we're very sorry. Ninth Master is in the middle of something. We'll need you to wait a while longer. What's the matter? Yi Wanwan asked hastily. Sui's tone sounded somewhat odd. He hummed and hawed for a long time before answering. No, it's nothing much. You just have to wait a while longer. Oh, all right then. Yi Wanwan was reassured. After she hung up, Yi Wanwan said to Ling Dong, My boyfriend has a sudden matter to attend to, so he'll be a bit late. Ling Dong folded his arms across his chest and gave a knowing expression that he had expected her to say this. He casually replied, "It doesn't matter, I can wait." Si Han was usually very busy, so it was normal for him to be delayed. Yuanwan didn't think much of it and continued to wait. Another half-hour flew by. Si Han still hadn't arrived. But Sui called again and informed her with an embarrassed tone. "Ms. Yi, Ninth Master hasn't settled things here. You might have to wait some more." "Oh, it's fine. Let him finish up his work first." Yuanwan replied, not fussing at all. Ling Dong, who was sitting opposite, looked at Yuanwan. "Why? He's been delayed again?" Yuanwan nodded. "So sorry, he's extremely busy." Ling Dong played along. "No problem. I don't have anything to do anyway. We can take our time." Just like that, one long hour went by and the restaurant was emptying out. After the hour, Sui called for the third time. This time, Sui sounded even weirder. He was trembling in fear like he was about to cry. Yuanwan wasn't sure what kind of trouble he'd gotten into. "I'm truly sorry, Ninth Master is still not done." Oh, Yuanwan felt that something was off. Could it be that something serious happened? Or did Si Han actually not want to come? But that couldn't be. If Si Han didn't want to come, he could have rejected her outright. There was no point in him agreeing and then keep getting Sui to give her excuses. "How about we meet another day?" Yuanwan suggested. Sui panicked immediately. "No, please. I'm really sorry, Ms. Yi. Ninth Master can't leave at the moment, but he'll be there tonight no matter what. Please wait a little longer, please." All right then." After Suyi's pleading, Yuanwan could only agree, but she was very curious. What exactly was happening over at Si Han's house? After Yuanwan hung up the phone for the third time, Ling Dong looked at the time, stared at her and said, "Wanwan, if this so-called boyfriend you mentioned doesn't show up by 12 a.m. tonight, can it be considered that you were lying to me?" Yuanwan thought about Sui promising that Si Han would show up tonight no matter what and nodded in the end. Yes. Ling Dong's face lit up after hearing this and relaxed. Now, he eagerly watched the time pass, bit by bit. There was only about an hour left till 12 a.m. Just an hour more and this girl would become his girlfriend. Chapter 91. Put her down. It was almost closing time for the restaurant, and they were the only ones left. Lately, Yuanwan's sleep schedule was pretty regular, and she'd normally be fast asleep at this time, so she felt quite sleepy. When no one appeared after waiting some more, Yuanwan's eyelids became heavier and heavier. She leaned on her chin at first, then she started lying on the table and subsequently fell asleep. Ling Dong kept an intense watch over the time initially, but when he raised his gaze, he realized that Yuanwan was sleeping soundly. He stared at the way the girl slept, and the fleeting glimpse from that night appeared in his head. His ears started burning bright red. She'd said plainly that if she was lying to him, then she'd be his girlfriend. Did she agree because she actually liked him? Ling Dong glanced at the time again and became quite excited. Passionately, he reached out to the girl's face. Wan. At this moment, there was a smash and the restaurant's glass door was forced open by a slender and fair hand, accompanied by a gust of night wind. "So sorry, our restaurant is closed." That was the voice of the restaurant owner, dissipating into the night wind. The sound of footsteps came closer and closer. Ling Dong felt an inexplicable chill on his back and looked at the door subconsciously. In the next second, his pupils constricted. In his line of sight was a man walking towards him slowly. The man was in a vintage classic black suit. His glacial eyes looked as if they were capable of freezing his soul. As he walked over step by step, it seemed like he didn't resemble a person at all. He looked like a demon king who traveled with the night wind and used the light of the moon to reach the earth. The spacious restaurant suddenly appeared narrow and cramped. Looking at the man's refined disposition and devilishly good looks, Yi Wanwan's words appeared in Ling Dong's head. 1,000 times better looking than Xia. There was actually a person like that in this world, and this was him. Just as Ling Dong regained his senses and realized he was gaping at the man was suddenly standing right in front of him. You. Can I help you with anything?" Ling Dong asked subconsciously. The man didn't reply, and looked coldly at him. Ling Dong felt like he was his prey, being devoured at his throat. As Ling Dong's body stiffened up, a cold sweat covered his forehead. Yuan Wan, who was totally unconscious and in deep sleep, started falling off the side. Seeing that Yuan Wan was about to fall, Ling Dong started to reach out for her. The man standing opposite used a relaxed, subtle, and wickedly fast tilt of his body and caught the girl instead, who landed right into his arms. Ling Dong looked at the man holding on to Yuan Wan, hugging her, and his gaze tightened. Yuan Wan woke up in a shock, rubbed her eyes in a daze, and looked at the person in front of her. She blanked out for a while. Then, slowly, she rubbed the man's body and grumbled, "What took you so long?" The man looked at the girl in his arms. His cold gaze completely contrasted with his warm expression. Ling Dong looked at Yuan Wan and then at this man. What's going on?" While Ling Dong stared blankly, the man started hoisting Yuan Wan up. Ling Dong finally regained his senses and blurted out, "Wait, put her down. Who are you?" In the next moment, the chilly atmosphere around them intensified. The man looked at the girl in his arms, and while Ling Dong continued staring at him in shock, he slowly lowered his head and kissed the girl on her outrageously colored lips. Chapter 92. The Master's Secret Crash. The shattering sound of glass resounded. The cup in Ling Dong's hand crashed onto the floor. It was as if he was struck by lightning as he stared at the two people opposite, flabbergasted. You are? If he and Yuan Wan together were a contrasting and unexpected pair, then the image of this person kissing Yuan Wan was really something straight out of a sci-fi movie. It was simply too shocking. "You're Yuan Wan's boyfriend." Ling Dong took a long time to find his voice. Even he could never kiss Yuan Wan with that makeup, much less Xia, who was finding all kinds of excuses to get out of it. But this man actually, he thought about what Yuan Wan said before, that she dolled up like that because her boyfriend liked her this way. What Yuan Wan said was true. The man's indifferent eyes barely looked at Ling Dong before he carried the girl and left the empty restaurant. From beginning till the end, Yuan Wan obediently remained locked in the man's embrace. Perhaps she was feeling a little sluggish since she just woke up, or maybe Si Han's normally scary aura was absent. But being so close to Si Han wasn't as repulsive as she'd imagined. Between each breath, she could smell a light aroma of fruit trees. It was different from the usual cold vibe from Si Han, but it smelled pretty good. It might have been her illusion, but this man was clearly still in the same old black outfit tonight, yet it gave her a very grand and formal vibe. He never wore cologne, but he did today. His subtle, luxurious, antique black cufflinks, his metallic tie clip, and his suit's design looked similar to his other suits, but after looking closely at the design, it appeared to be brand new. The scariest thing was that this guy was too handsome tonight. She was blinded by Si Han, even though she was so used to seeing that face of his. Recalling Ling Dong's face now, she couldn't help but find it hilarious. This poor child's 3 values would probably be shattered into pieces tonight. Sui stood by the restaurant door and saw everything that happened inside, and he saw that the boy was still standing there in a daze. Sui wiped his sweat and couldn't help but criticize his master silently. "Master, must you go that far?" At this moment, Yuan Wan had the same thought as well. Using Si Han to fight a suitor of Ling Dong's rank was no different from using an ultimate boss to kill a beginner. Please, put me down," said Yuan Wan, after seeing that Si Han was still carrying her, seemingly without the intention of putting her down. The man paused and the atmosphere became chilly in an instant. A moment later, he let her down. Yuan Wan jumped onto the ground, lifted her little head to look at the man in front of her, and said eagerly, "Can you carry me on your back?" The man looked surprised after he heard that and immediately bent forward in front of her slowly. Yuan Wan immediately climbed up onto the man's back, hugged his neck with both hands and yawned lazily. "This feels much better." Sui watched how the both of them interacted and his heart was like a roller coaster, going up and down. He suddenly realized that whenever Yuan Wan initiated intimacy, his violent and terrifying master became unbelievably docile. On the silent and empty road, The man carried the girl as he walked back to school slowly. Feeling her little head nodding on his back, the man asked, "Tired?" Yi Wanwan nuzzled her head on his shoulders and nodded. "Yeah. Did something urgent happen to you today? Was it important?"
It's fine.
Yi Wanwan wasn't fully convinced. Really? But on the phone just now, housekeeper Su sounded like he was about to cry. She shot a suspicious look over to Su Yi as she spoke. Su Yi's back stiffened and quickly waved his hands. "Oh, Ms. Yi, it's really nothing. It has all been settled. Even if you beat him to death, he would never dare to reveal that his elegant and aloof master went through outfit changes for 3 hours, tortured over 10 stylists, and made every servant in the house cry before leaving the house." Chapter 93. My handsome boyfriend. Hearing what Sui said, Yi Wanwan didn't probe any further but grumbled. "Luckily you arrived in time. Otherwise, I would have become someone else's girlfriend." Ling Dong and I made a bet. If he found out everything was a lie and my boyfriend didn't show up, I would agree to be his girlfriend. The chill beneath Si Han's eyes had yet to spread before the girl continued in her victorious and chirpy voice. "Since you promised you'd come, I knew you'd definitely appear, so I made a bet with him without thinking too much about it. Going by Ling Dong's reaction just now, he'll definitely give up this time. After all, my boyfriend is so handsome. You'd beat him in a beauty contest in a second, even if you wore a sack." Listening to the girl gloating, the iciness beneath Si Han's eyes immediately melted. It was obvious that Yi Wanwan's sucking up did the trick. Sui's face was covered with tears as he listened. "Even if he wore a sack? My lady, if you said so earlier, then people like us wouldn't have to go through such torture tonight." He finally understood that 10,000 compliments from all of them couldn't compare to a single compliment of handsome from this girl. The restaurant wasn't far from school, and they arrived at their destination shortly after. Yi Wanwan jumped off the man's back. "I'm here." The man turned and looked at the girl in front of him, his expression becoming cold again. Yi Wanwan felt that his mood was really like the weather in March, overcast and unpredictable. At the same time, in a little flower bed not far from where Yi Wanwan and Si Han were, stood 2 students, a boy and a girl. The girl looked sweet and cute, dressed in a short pink skirt and had a delicately wrapped paper box in her hand. She stood timidly in front of the boy. "See? Xia, I like you. I made these chocolates myself. I hope you like them." The boy standing opposite was dressed in oversized pajamas like he had come from his dorm just before bed. But this didn't seem to ruin his charm at all, but instead, it made him look even more casual and informal than usual, making the girl's heart flutter. At that moment, the boy whose face could charm all the girls looked disinterested and unconcerned. With a flash of impatience and annoyance, "I don't have a sweet tooth." The girl's face turned pale. She acted like she didn't mind and spoke pleadingly. "Right? Then I'll make something else next time. And I don't like you." After the boy was done talking, he turned and left immediately without a care for the girl. Just as he was walking towards the dorm, the boy suddenly heard a familiar voice in the quiet air. "I'm here." Xia paused and turned towards the direction of that voice subconsciously. "Yi Wanwan?" The boy furrowed his brows and hid in the shadows. He looked through the gaps between the branches and saw that under the nearby streetlights, Yi Wanwan was standing there talking to a man. The man had his back to him, and he could only see a faint figure, but with just one look, Xia's face changed. "Han, how could it be?" Xia's face was filled with fear and uncertainty. He continued watching and saw that Yi Wanwan went up on her tiptoes and lightly kissed the man on his cheek. "Good night." She then left while turning and waving to the man. At that moment, the slender and cold figure turned, and the man stretched his arms out to grab the girl who hadn't managed to go far. He brought her into his embrace with one move, bent his body and gave one last, passionate kiss. As Xia looked at the man's face, he was dumbstruck and stood rooted to the ground. Chapter 94. Yi Wanwan and Si Han. When he saw his egotistical and cold-knife uncle bending over to kiss Yi Wanwan's nightmarish face, Xia trembled and an explosion resounded in his head. What's going on here? Yi Wanwan and Si Han. These two were from completely different planets, different spaces, and different levels, but at this moment, they actually appeared together. Not to mention in this kind of terrible relationship. Could it be that the boyfriend Yi Wanwan keeps talking about is? Xia steadied himself and looked under the streetlights again. He could only see that the man was turning away while Yi Wanwan walked in the direction of the girls' dormitory. Xia stared at Yi Wanwan's back and stood in the dark for a long time. Then his phone rang with a text message. He peeked at his phone and walked towards the boys' dormitory. Just as he reached the first level of the dormitory, he saw Cheng Shui standing there. Although it was already very late, Cheng Shui was still dressed neatly. She wore a beautiful dress without a single wrinkle. If you looked closely enough, you could see that she also had on exquisite, yet natural makeup. Why have you been outside? Cheng Shui looked in the direction that Xia appeared from, as darkness flashed beneath her eyes. It seemed like the news was right. Some shameless girl was trying to seduce him in the middle of the night. Is anything the matter? Xia's tone was much more pleasant when he spoke to Cheng Shui than when he spoke to that other girl earlier. Can't I just drop by? Lately, you've always been busy with that ugly freaky Wanwan, and there are always girls harassing you during the day. I don't have any chances to talk to you. Cheng Shui was unhappy and grumbled with a bit of playfulness. If nothing's the matter, then we'll talk tomorrow. I have something to do now. Xia spoke as he entered the dormitory staircase. Cheng Shui was flustered by that. It's so late already. What do you have to do? Was that Han Xiaoru with you just now? Yeah. Xia didn't deny it. Cheng Shui clenched her fist tightly. What did she want? Xia. To give me chocolates. Han Xiaoru, that girl? Cheng Shui gritted her teeth right after hearing that, but seeing that Xia was empty-handed, it was obvious that he didn't accept them, and then she was happy once more. The girls in this school are so annoying to harass you every day. She actually gave you chocolates, but doesn't she know that you're allergic to cocoa powder? She then took out a bag and gave it to him. This is your favorite almond cake. You can have it for breakfast tomorrow. Thanks. Xia accepted the gift. Seeing that Xia accepted her cake, Cheng Shui's gloomy mood immediately disappeared. She stared at that dazzling face and said shyly, You don't have to be so polite with me. I can make it for you next time if you like it. Annie C said that my baking skills are getting better. I knew that he sees me differently from all those other girls. Teske, I can't believe all these wildflowers and weeds in school are actually trying to snatch my man. I won't keep you then. Have an early night after you're done with your work. Knowing that he no longer had any business with Han Xiaoru, Cheng Shui was relieved. With her crazily pounding heart, she ran off excitedly. However, the girl didn't know that once she left, the polite, courteous expression of the boy immediately disappeared, revealing an indifferent expression that completely contrasted with the usual perfect image he had in front of her. It even had a hint of disgust and contempt. The boy walked a few steps ahead leisurely and casually threw the delicately wrapped cake into the garbage can next to him. After he entered, the boy didn't go to his own dorm. Instead, he went upstairs to see Ling Dong. Chapter 95. So handsome he could turn me gay. Who is it? A boy in his undershirt and oversized boxers pulled open the door with a sleepy face. After he saw that the person at the door was Xia, he was stunned for a moment. Oh, Xia. Even though it was very common in the boys' dormitory for guys to drop by, standing in front of him was the dream boy of every girl in school and the common enemy of every boy. Furthermore, like the school's goddess, Cheng Shui, he was clearly not from a simple family. He was from a completely different world from nobodies like them. Besides, Xia always kept to himself. He didn't usually hang out with them, not to mention dropping by in the middle of the night. So seeing him here at this late hour, the boy was inevitably surprised. Do you need something? I'm looking for Ling Dong, Xia replied. Oh, you're looking for Dong Ji One. He just came back, it's just that. The boy scratched his head, looking rather vexed. You're here at a bad time. Dong Ji isn't really in a good state right now. Not in a good state. Come in. You'll understand once you see it for yourself. The boy sighed and opened the door. Just as Xia stepped inside, a pungent smell of alcohol overwhelmed him. After Xia entered, the boy quickly closed the door. afraid that the smell of alcohol would escape and expose them to the dorm inspector. He saw that Ling Dong was sitting on the floor like a puddle of mud, seemingly completely drunk beyond his senses and mumbling Yi Wanwan's name. Wanwan, Wanwan, why do you treat me like that? Why didn't I find out sooner? With just one look at his condition, anyone with a discerning eye would know immediately that he was heartbroken. What happened? Xia glanced at the three boys in the dorm. The three boys looked at one another. The boy who just opened the door stepped closer and said mysteriously, Dongji went to meet Yi Wanwan's boyfriend this evening. Yi Wanwan actually has a boyfriend. Can you believe it? Really? Xia's eyes glistened slightly. That's right. At first, we all thought that Yi Wanwan was lying about having a boyfriend in order to turn Dongji off. She even said that her boyfriend was extremely good-looking, bragging non-stop. Who would believe her? But who could have guessed that when Dongji went, he actually got to meet the guy? More than just meet. According to Dongji, that man was so handsome he could shatter the skies, and compared to you, Xia, he was, the boy sighed and stopped. Oh, better looking than me, right? Xia spoke softly. The boy rubbed his nose and answered awkwardly. Anyway, that was what Dongji said. We all suspected that he's drunk. Otherwise, how could he have said such nonsense? How could there be any good-looking and blind man in this world that would fall in love with Yi Wanwan? Exactly. So what if Yi Wanwan has a boyfriend? Dongji still has a chance to win her over, right? While the boys were conversing, Ling Dong, who was drunk in the corner, waved his beer bottle and shouted in anger, Damn it. Handsome. So handsome he could turn me gay. As if I could fight him. The three boys on the side. What the hell do you mean that he was so handsome he could turn you gay? Dongji, calm down a little. Dongji. Xia glanced at Ling Dong and after a few moments, he walked over to him and squatted down. Then, he passed his phone to him. Was it him you saw this evening? Ling Dong looked at Xia's phone in a daze. In the next second, his drunkard expression suddenly sobered up and he sat up quivering suddenly. Why would you have a picture of Yi Wanwan's boyfriend? Hearing that, Xia closed both his eyes immediately and beneath his eyes was a significant darkness. Han, it was really him? That woman in Jean Garden actually was Yi Wanwan, his classmate from the same school and class, right under his nose. Chapter 96. I Can't Teach You. As Xia took his seat, the girls jabbered away. Zhao Xingzhou's face suddenly became stern and said, all right, calm down everybody. Why aren't you guys so excited to see me? Teacher, you're not handsome. Some girls retorted immediately. Hey, what did you just say? Please repeat yourself, loud and clear. There was an obvious threat in Zhao Xingzhou's voice. Teacher, you're the most handsome. The girl shouted in fear. Very good. Continue with the questions then. After messing around for a while, everybody continued with the questions, but it was very obvious that all the bewitched girls were not fully focused on their studies anymore. After Xia sat down, he glanced through the practice questions once and did not bother with them any further. He laid his head down and started sleeping as usual. Yi Wanwan was filled with jealousy. Far from handing in blank exam papers like her, this chap knew how to do every question. Compared to how she had to memorize sample answers and scoring well out of sheer luck on her last test, Xia always got perfect marks for math, aside from the times when he purposely skipped exams. In her eyes, this kind of person was a total anomaly. Certainly, there must be no normal human in the C family. Yi Wanwan was bitterly doing her work while cursing under her breath when she suddenly felt a weight on her shoulder and fresh clean scent wafted into her nose. Yi Wanwan turned her head stiffly to look and realized that Xia had slumped over in his sleep and was now leaning on her shoulder. At that moment, there was an uproar in class. The girls who had fixed their attention on Xia this whole time dropped their jaws. Cheng Shui's glare was murderous. Damn. Xia actually leaned against her shoulder. Yi Wanwan, this slut. Nobody stop me. I'm going to break that ugly freak's claws. As Yi Wanwan faced the murderous stares from all the girls in the class, she hurriedly tried to reposition the sleeping beauty on her shoulder carefully. Oh my God, save me. How is this my fault? I'm a victim too, right? But if she really said those words out loud, she might be beaten to death so she could only swallow her words down. Thankfully, when she was halfway through moving him, Xia awoke. That sleepy face and lazy eyes are simply too dreamy. After looking at Si Han's face for so many years, she thought she was already immune to his beauty, yet she was still electrified by just a glance. Although Xia really couldn't compare to Si Han, they were entirely different species. Si Han was dangerous and mysterious, egotistical and arrogant, while at the moment, Xia was the kind of king who could charm thousands of girls. After Xia woke up, he rubbed his forehead lazily and glanced at Yuanwan's question booklet. This question. Yuanwan looked over, surprised. What? You got this question wrong, and this is wrong too. Watching Xia picking out numerous questions, Yuanwan's brows twitched and she took a deep breath. Just tell me which questions I got right. Xia's fair and slender fingers pointed at two of the questions. You got two multiple-choice questions right. These two questions were wild guesses. Yuanwan was so sad that she wanted to bang her head on the desk. I thought my math wasn't that bad. I can teach you. Xia smiled. Chapter 97. Do you miss me? Hearing that, Yuanwan shuddered as she finally realized what was different about Xia today. Usually, he would be lying on the desk asleep and wouldn't even look at her the whole day. But today, he actually took the initiative to talk with her and even offered to teach her math. Cough, no thanks. I don't want to die a humiliating death. By the way, where did you go today? Why'd you only come to last period? All the girls were going crazy for missing you. Most importantly, everyone blamed me for his absence. Yuanwan thought out loud. If Xia really didn't come because of me, then I should just ask the teacher to change seats. I can't change my role in the play, but at the very least, I want to try to change seats. Really? Xia asked softly. Yes. Yuanwan nodded, then took the opportunity to ask, You didn't come today. Was it because, then, before Yuanwan could finish, Xia interrupted her and asked, What about you? Huh, what about me? Yuanwan didn't understand what Xia was trying to get at. Xia looked at her shyly and said, Did you miss me? Yuanwan was completely dumbfounded. Damn. What game is he trying to play? Yuanwan's body was covered in goosebumps, and as she stared back in shock, her whole face in terror, she asked, Do you have a fever? All right, everybody please stop. I'm going to take up the questions now. If you had any trouble with the questions, listen up and pay attention. Zhao Xingzhou's words cut through the strange atmosphere. Yuanwan clutched her chest, her whole face frightened and uncertain, while still thinking about those words that scared her half to death. Is this guy just teasing me? By the end of the class, the girls were glaring at her so hard, she thought they would burn a hole in her body. Although they couldn't hear what Xia and she were talking about, they were fully aware that today Xia not only leaned on her shoulder, but he even spoke to her for the first time. No matter the topic, it was enough to make people want to beat up and drown Yuanwan. All the girls in school had a consensus that Xia belonged to all of them, and nobody was allowed to fight for him. If this unspoken rule was broken, the offender would become a public enemy. Even if a girl wanted to break the rule, she would only dare to confess her love to Xia secretly, lest she faces the wrath of the others. If she was found out, she wouldn't be able to come to school anymore. On the surface, it looked like Yuanwan had actually dared to seduce Xia in front of everyone, and thus attracted quite a lot of hatred. Of course, the reality was that Xia had leaned against her accidentally, and it was also Xia who initiated the conversation. But nobody cared about these facts. The person who was in the wrong was obviously Yuanwan. Yuanwan initially thought that this would all be over after school. Who knew that Xia, who had missed rehearsals consecutively for so many days, would actually show up today? At rehearsal, Yuanwan rehearsed distractedly with her brows furrowed. She began to have a strange, ominous premonition. Xia sat against the window, and as usual, he was surrounded by a group of girls making a big fuss over him. Xia, that ugly freak is getting more and more out of hand. She even harassed you in class. Don't worry, Xia. We've already submitted a petition demanding to switch Yuanwan out. Miss Liang will definitely meet our demands. Actually, you didn't have to come today. Miss Liang will announce her decision tomorrow. That's right. Why don't you go back and have a good rest? You must be nauseous after that math class. While the girls bombarded Xia, the other students preceding him had finished rehearsing and it was now his turn. The class monitor walked up to Xia and asked weakly, Xia, it's your turn. Do you want to rehearse today? With everyone's attention, Xia slowly stood up from his seat and glanced at the stage. Of course. Chapter 98. A kiss from the hunky Wanwan had initially thought that Xia wasn't coming to rehearsal today, so she had applied purple lipstick. Seeing Xia walking over, she asked subconsciously, do you want me to change the color? She remembered how Xia couldn't stand this color. Xia glanced at her, and an unusual warmth flashed across his eyes. No need, it's nice. Yi Wanwan. What? Nice? Could someone save me from this guy? Yi Wanwan was so shaken up that she started to touch up her makeup to calm her nerves, but her eyeliner came out crooked as her hands shook and she even smudged her lipstick. Xia glanced at Yi Wanwan's face and a fleeting smile appeared on his gentle face, but in the next moment he took a deep breath and said, let's start rehearsing. Since Xia himself wanted to rehearse, the flock of girls surrounding him were powerless to do anything and could only sit and watch unwillingly. The rehearsal of the final act, Meet the Prince, began. After Snow White was poisoned, a prince rode his white horse through the forest, lost his way and found a little wooden house by some strange coincidence. There, he saw 7 little dwarves mourning for Princess Snow White. Xia slowly walked towards the table where Yi Wanwan lay and gazed at the girl's face with his glass-like eyes filled with deep emotion and sadness. All the people watching were full of admiration. Wow, the hunk's acting skills today are off the charts. Yi Wanwan's role in this scene of the play tested everybody to the max. The girls had to imagine this ugly freak as the world's most beautiful Princess Snow White. After this, the most disturbing scene was about to begin. The prince giving a kiss of true love to wake up the sleeping Snow White. Xia stroked the girl's hair lightly. With one arm propped beside her, he then slowly bent his body down. His motions made all the girls blush. With hearts pounding, they each wanted to rush up on stage to lay down in Yi Wanwan's place. Oh, I'm so mad. I really want to be kissed by the hunk as well. The hunk's too nice and gentle, yet he still forced himself to rehearse this scene. But someone is taking advantage of his gentleness. Shame on her. Everybody gritted their teeth. With aching hearts, they collectively prepared a bottle of mineral water and garbage bin for Xia. Meanwhile, as Xia stroked the girl's hair lightly, he accidentally brushed her neck and his fingers suddenly stiffened up. Yi Wanwan's skin was as fair as goat's milk. One word immediately surfaced in his mind when he touched it: delicate. Xia was a little taken aback and retracted his fingers quickly like he had just gotten burnt while the ends of his ears started reddening. He immediately calmed himself down, bent down again and edged closer to the girl bit by bit. Cheng Shui, who was watching, suddenly stood up and shouted, "What is going on?" All the other girls were stunned as well. Why didn't Xia run away as usual when he got this close? This time, he's actually leaning closer and closer. Everybody watched as the distance between the two of them shrank. Even if they were just getting in position, they didn't have to be that close. Damn, what is going on? Could it be that Xia really wants to do it for real? Even the distracted Ling Dong, who was watching from the corner of the room, suddenly changed his expression when he realized what was happening. Although Yi Wanwan had closed her eyes, she could feel Xia's breath. When she felt that something wasn't quite right, she quickly opened her eyes. In the next second, Xia's face loomed directly in front of her. Chapter 99. It's my responsibility at that moment. A shout came from the hallway. Ms. Liang is here. At the door, Liang Lihua walked in. By her side was the petition delivered to her by Cheng Shui's cronies. It looked like they realized something was wrong, so they were ordered by Cheng Shui to bring reinforcement. Everybody sighed in relief instantly at the sight of Ms. Liang, and Yi Wanwan also quickly took the chance to sit up. Unsure if it was her imagination, Yu Wanwan thought she saw a shred of disappointment on Xixia's face, as if he was unhappy at the interruption. Liang Lihua held the petition in her hand and turned to stare at Yu Wanwan in annoyance. Yu Wanwan, why is it you all the time? How much trouble are you going to make before you're satisfied? She then turned to the crowd and said, I've seen everybody's concerns, and initially, we assigned the roles randomly so that it would be fair. But since the results have caused such a big problem and rehearsals aren't going smoothly, I have decided to choose another candidate for the role of Snow White. Are there any objections? Upon hearing this, everyone was suddenly in high spirits. This brought great satisfaction to everyone, and everybody replied in unison, no. Yu Wanwan heaved a sigh of relief as well. Finally, the moment she had been waiting for. But at this moment, an unexpected voice came from her side. I object. The person who spoke was Xixia. Cheng Shui quickly ran to Xixia and pulled at his shirt while whining softly. Xixia, what are you talking about? The teacher has already agreed. Why are you still so stubborn? Yu Wanwan looked at Xixia warily. W-hat, is this guy trying to do this time? The boy's icy gaze swept across the room. If the roles are going to be changed over and over, are we then going to change the next candidate halfway as well? Anyway, there isn't much time left until the performance. If we choose someone else, we'll have to start from scratch. We've been rehearsing well aside from the final act, and the problem with that act lies with me. I now have things under control, and I promise that rehearsals will proceed smoothly from here on. Not only were the students stunned, but Liang Lihua had never considered the possibility that Xixia would object. She furrowed her brows and said, but even if you can act successfully, Yu Wanwan's image is still a big problem. Xixia replied without a change in his expression, there is a certain artistic flair and exaggeration in the theater. Yu Wanwan's image is not a problem at all. Besides, in the later stages, we could use some styling and masks to conceal and solve the problem. I will discuss all these concerns with the class monitor and bring a viable and detailed proposal to you. After Xixia had presented his views, Liang Lihua was unhappy but couldn't protest any further. If you insist, I won't object. But if there's a problem, actually, she considered Yu Wanwan to be a secondary problem. Her biggest issue lay with Xixia. She thought Xixia resented that Yu Wanwan was playing Snow White, so she took his concerns seriously. But who knew that Xixia's attitude was completely different from what the other students had said? This guy wasn't someone a nobody like her could afford to offend. The others may not have known Xixia's background, but she was well informed and knew that he wasn't just from an ordinary wealthy family. If not for her lover confiding in her, she would never have imagined that Xixia had such powerful backing. Chapter 100. Sacrificing my image without hesitation, I was the one who drew the lot for Snow White. I'll take full responsibility, Xixia said. There was silence throughout the entire hall. Everyone was shocked by this unexpected development. Since Xixia spoken, we'll leave this for now. You can come talk to me if there are any more problems. Who cares about the petition? In the end, Liang Lihua naturally placed the most importance on Xixia's opinion. Thus she left, satisfied that Xixia was content. After Liang Lihua left, Cheng Shui rushed to Xixia and shouted at him furiously, Xixia, why are you speaking up for that ugly freak? Xixia didn't respond. He might not have even heard what Cheng Shui said. At that moment, his attention and gaze were fixated on Yu Wanwan. The focus in that gaze gave him a gentle and attached expression, an appearance of years and years of waiting. His gaze completely lit up the rage in Cheng Shui. She turned and stomped towards Yu Wanwan and raised her hand in anger. Yu Wanwan, you shameless slut. What have you done to Xixia? Without waiting for Yu Wanwan's reaction, suddenly, a figure swiftly flashed before her eyes. After that came the resounding sound of a slap, pa. Cheng Shui's slap didn't land on her face, but on Xixia's. Due to the height difference, Cheng Shui's slap landed on the area near Xixia's chin. Her sharp nails left a striking bloody mark on his fair skin immediately. Cheng Shui realized that she had slapped Xixia by accident and was stunned. Xixia, I didn't do it on purpose. Sorry. A trace of murderous intentions flashed beneath Xixia's glacial eyes. Take back what you just said. If there's a next time, don't come crying to me. Yu Wanwan was in despair. What grudge does this guy have for me? Within a few short seconds, he's directed tons of hate towards me. The girl's resentment has turned into something physical. However, that wasn't enough. When Xia turned to her, his cold gaze suddenly melted and even had a trace of caution and flattery. Are you all right? Are you scared? Yuan, yes. I'm scared. I was almost scared to death by you, big brother. Who can explain what just happened? Even if she was slow, she could tell that Xia had been teasing her on purpose the whole day. But she couldn't imagine how she had offended him that made him so vindictive. Cheng Shui stared at her ferociously, then cried and ran away. Everyone else in the hall also left, one after another, in fright and uncertainty. When only Yuan and Xia were left, Yuan couldn't help but ask, "Could you tell me, most respected hunk, your highness, where have I offended you? Was it because I said that my boyfriend was better looking than you so you have a grudge against me? You didn't hesitate to give up your image over this. Isn't that too big of a sacrifice?" Image. Xia slowly stroked his own face that was slightly red because of the slap. This face, you like it? I feel honored. Yuan. This guy's reaction was too weird. As she stood there speechless, she saw him walking towards her. Yuan took a step back subconsciously, but he went down on his knees in front of her all of a sudden. In a kneeling position, he reached out his hand and helped her tie her shoelace that was accidentally untied. Chapter 101. I'll reject him only when heaven and earth collide. Yuan moved back and withdrew her feet. She saw that the loosened shoelace had already been tied into a beautiful bow by the boy's long fingers. Don't be scared. I don't have any ill intentions towards you. It's just that. Xia stopped. Yuan shot a suspicious glance over. Just what? Just that. I want to stay by your side. Yuan. Why the sudden change when everything was fine before, boy? If she didn't have any hearing issues, was what Xia said a confession in disguise? Yuan stood still amidst the confusion, and a song surfaced in her mind. At the place where the peach blossom bloomed. What's wrong with the world I've been reborn into? If her life before her rebirth was difficult, her life after rebirth had been upgraded to hell mode. What she was afraid of had actually happened. Suitor after suitor pursued her, and each one was worse than the last. The boy in front of her could be an epic boss. Could it be that Xia also saw my real face like Lingdong? This face of mine is truly my greatest source of misfortune. However, she was sure to be careful these days. She hadn't revealed her face without makeup anywhere outside the dorms. Furthermore, Xia was different from Lingdong. With his high status and potential, he wouldn't have a sudden change in heart just because of that. Aside from that, Yuan suddenly thought of another possibility. Although she didn't know much about Xia in her previous life, she knew that his relationship with Han was not as peaceful as it seemed on the surface. She even heard a very strange piece of gossip. It was said that Xia would snatch any woman who got slightly close to Han. Could it be that Xia found out about her relationship with Han and wanted to play some game by snatching his nemesis girlfriend away? She thought carefully. Han came to school last night, and immediately, Xia's attitude towards her changed the next day. If it was true, how much does this guy hate Han that he could hit on even me? Yuan said sincerely, Xia, no matter what your intentions are, you don't have to be so hard on yourself, okay? Please take a good look at my face, then think it through carefully. Let me tell you, this is how I look even with makeup. Once my makeup is removed, it would shock you to your core. Xia stared at her face. The corners of his mouth twitched, and then he took a deep breath with a look of determination. His face recovered its warmth, and he said, "No problem. It'll be fine after I get used to it." Yuan wanted to break down. Her head hurt so much that she rubbed her eyebrows and said seriously, emphasizing each and every word clearly, "My relationship with my boyfriend is stronger than gold and our love is rock solid. Only until the mountains become flat, until all the rivers are drained, until there's thunder in winter, until there's snow in summer, and until heaven and earth collide, will I reject him. So, you should just give up." Aside from her, with his background and looks, skills and acting abilities, there was probably no girl that could resist him. But right now, She was afraid that if he was disappointed, her life would be in danger and she would not joke around with her own life after speaking. She left immediately without waiting for Xia to respond. Most importantly, she had to keep her distance. After she was quite a distance away, Yuan heaved a sigh of relief. Who knew that when she raised her head, she would see someone she didn't want to see even more than Xia. Shun Mengqi hurriedly rushed towards her with a hasty expression. Wan, I finally found you. What's the matter? Shin Mengqi said in a surprised tone. Don't you know? Hurry and take a look at the school's forum. The news about you and Xia has gone around. Chapter 102. Twisting the facts before. When Xia helped her dodge the slap from Cheng Shui, she already had a bad premonition, but she never thought that news of it would spread so quickly. Yuan opened the forum to take a look. She immediately saw on the first page was a very popular topic, the story of the ugliest girl in Qinghe and Qinghe's hunk that must be told. Ugly Girl and School Hunk. This sensational title would attract many clicks with just one look. The post started from the time she scored first in the class for exams and described in detail how she got close to Xia, step by step. Apparently, she scored last in class on purpose to get close to Xia, then cheated on the exams to score first in class to continue sticking with Xia. Then, she cheated in the draw in her futile attempt to get the role of Snow White and get even closer to Xia, and deliberately gave him hugs in class and harassed him nonstop. The whole article was illogical and humiliated her just for the sake of it. With regards to her results, all the teachers were present, and Liang Lihua admitted that her results were genuine. As for the drawing of lots, she didn't even have any chance to touch the box. How could she have cheated? If she really harassed Xia, why did Xia speak up for her in the hall when Liang Lihua wanted to switch roles for the play? But all these didn't matter. Nobody would go to the trouble of finding out the truth. Everyone was like the flesh-eating vultures pouncing on her to tear her apart. It was just her luck as an ugly freak to become close to their dream boy and have him speak up for her. To them, it was a heinous sin. Love the winter nights. I am a student from F class. I saw it myself. That ugly freak rubbed against Xia's body on purpose during class. Disgusting. Crayon without Shin Chan. Oh my god, really? That's gross. As the saying goes, ugly people always make more trouble. She should take a good look at herself in the mirror. How dare she actually go after Xia? Left hand reversed image. Our dream boy has a good temper and wasn't cautious with her. He even took it upon himself to kiss her. Damn, who could kiss her with that face of hers? If it were me, I'd have puked out last night's dinner. Sprinkling Z to empty some avoided memories. Wasn't she asked to leave school before? She still hasn't left. I really underestimated this ugly freak's tricks. Love the winter nights. TSK. If she didn't have any tactics, could she toy with the big shot of Qinghe? This kind of person should be kicked out of Qinghe. Timeless. Kick Yuan out of Qinghe. At the end of the post, the incident with Ling Dong was also mentioned. She was called a two-timer. She knew all these were lies, yet she didn't feel like she could explain herself. How could she explain to them? Tell them that it was one-sided and Ling Dong and Xia were interested in her? If she tried that, she was afraid she'd be spit on to death. Wan, are you all right? All these people are too much. How could they say these things about you? Shin Mengqi said indignantly. She couldn't understand why Yuan still seemed alive and well up till this point. All those messages that she sent to Si Han previously had been marked as read, meaning that he had obviously read them. But not only was she living well, she had seduced Ling Dong, and even Xia's attitude towards her was becoming warmer. Seeing Shun Mengqi's concerned face, Yuan smiled faintly and the corners of her mouth curled upwards. The creator of this thread, Love the Winter Nights, leaping and jumping all over to insult her was Shan Mengqi. Love the Winter Nights. This ID was of deep significance. TSK, she wants to get public opinion involved? She initially wanted to keep her plan under wraps for a few more days, but now is the perfect opportunity to use it. Chapter 103. Gossip Porter. But, Wan, Since when did you have such a good relationship with Xia? I heard that he not only spoke up for you in front of the teacher, but he even blocked a slap from Cheng Shui for you. Shun Mengqi probed. Before, the incident with Ling Dong had no effect at all on Si Han. So with Xia's special treatment towards Yuanwan, she wasn't sure whether it would have any impact even if she reported it to Si Han. She didn't expect that Si Han would become more and more lenient towards Yuanwan. Maybe Si Han didn't consider any others a threat aside from Gu Yuze? Maybe. Shin Mengqi was out of her wits. As East Asia's king of jealousy, even if Yuanwan did so much as to pet a dog lightly, Si Han might bring out a dog rod in a fit of jealousy, not to mention what he would do to a man like Ling Dong. That's obviously because Si Xia's a nice person. Yi Wanwan replied. Shin Mengqi nearly choked. She reminded her, anyway, you better be careful. There are many girls that fancy Si Xia who will definitely pick on you, especially Cheng Shui. 80% of this post was sent by Cheng Shui to get back at you. Yi Wanwan sneered in her heart. Shin Mengqi acted like a good person on one hand and on the other, pinned the blame on someone else. She was really cunning. Got it. I'll be careful. I'm going to head back to my dorm now. Bye. Shin Mengqi watched as Yi Wanwan left, her face filled with frustration. Before, she was glad that Yi Wanwan wasn't loved by Si Han anymore, so she no longer had the right to live in Jing Garden. But now she was worried that since Yi Wanwan was no longer living there, she didn't have any chance to get close to Si Han anymore. Si Han was probably too busy to answer her calls. She tried asking him out through text before, but like rocks, those messages sunk in the sea. Sometimes, she even felt like she was a robot providing him with updates on Yuanwan, since he only responded to news about her. This feels terrible. After settling things with Shen Mengqi, Yuanwan left using the back door and entered an internet cafe at the school entrance. She found a single booth and sat down. Then she entered Qinghe's school forum. As she was about to sign in, she recalled that her original ID was even more disgusting than Shin Mengqi's Love the Winter Nights. It was Love Zay for 100 decades. Thus, Yuanwan created a new account with another name, Gossip Porter. After she created the account, Yuanwan drafted a post. The title of the post, Flashing News. Qinghe's beauty, Shin Mengqi, was actually a mistress that stole her best friend's man. The content was the same as the title, just with the addition of this simple phrase. Yuanwan casually posted it after she was done editing it. As expected, this extremely eye-catching title immediately attracted a ton of responses. Cute and handsome guy. Damn. Shin Mengqi. Isn't she my goddess? She's involved in this? Crayon without Shin-chan. Users who create rumors like that will be blocked. Most handsome. This is definitely fake. I can't believe a simple and kind girl like Shan Mengqi would be defamed by people as well. Love the winter nights. I think this person is just jealous. Day's little cutie. Is the person talking about the incident involving Shan Mengqi, Jiang Yin Ran and Song Zihang? I think I've heard about it. Love the winter nights. Where did you hear such nonsensical rumors? Did you see it for yourself? Day's little cutie. Oh, I didn't. I heard it from someone else. Sprinkling Z to empty some avoided memories. Since there's a person who purposely wants to defame Shan Mengqi, naturally they'd create rumors about her. This kind of rumor can't be trusted. Crayon without Shin-chan. If this person is so sure, show us proof. Why are you hiding behind your computer and rambling on? You think we're a bunch of tools? Ha, in your dreams. Chapter 104. The video that spoke the truth after the post went up. Yuanwan was lashed at by Shun Mengqi's guardians. Many familiar IDs popped up. Those few netizens who claimed that they saw what happened that evening and were flooded by criticism and were even called rumor mongers. There was an unspoken rule in the entertainment circle that the truth wasn't important. Whoever controlled public opinion ran the world, and it was the same in this situation. This was also why Shin Mengqi dared to fabricate lies to prove her innocence. Yuanwan wasn't anxious at all as she watched them lash out silently. Sprinkling Z to empty some avoided memories. TSK. The thread starter hasn't dared to show their face. Love the winter nights. It was all made up. They just started a rumor to stir up trouble. I've encountered many people like this before. When everybody was almost done lashing out and agreed to treat the post as a rumor, Yuanwan posted a clip right as the post was about to fade away. While Shin Ming-chi and Jiang Yin-ran were fighting the night before, she had secretly recorded everything on video. Compared to Shun Ming-chi's post based on hearsay, hers had video evidence. In the Qinghe school forum, gossip about her as Qinghe's ugliest girl appeared every day, but it was never resolved as either a truth or lie. Especially since she started sitting with Xia, it was discussed almost daily. Everybody was probably tired of her, and this post by Shin Ming-chi merely deepened their hatred of her. Anyway, her reputation was as black as charcoal and couldn't possibly be any darker, but Shin Ming-chi was different. She was the beauty of Class A, the famous beauty of Qinghe. This goddess, who was in the hearts of many boys, was as pure and perfect like a piece of snow. To think that she actually seduced her best friend's man secretly. This gossip was much more explosive than the daily speculations about this ugly freak whose reputation was already smeared. Revealing this piece of gossip about Shin Ming-chi at this time could divert attention away from her. For people unable to clear the air about themselves, it was common practice to use explosive content to divert people's attention in the entertainment industry. After she posted the video, Yuanwan ordered some drinks and snacks and waited patiently in her seat. After a few seconds of silence, the post which had been dying down blew up again. Lonely heart. Oh my God! What did I just see? Everyone, hurry and look at this juicy gossip. Cute and handsome guy. Damn, it's actually real. The goddess was even hurt by the phone Jiang Yin-ran smashed into her face. I am little cutie 123. What drama? Aren't Shin Ming-chi and Jiang Yin-ran really close? It's surprising to have a third party involved. Most handsome. Huh. Is this some kind of misunderstanding? A windy summer. The video clip is out. What kind of misunderstanding is there? Didn't you hear Jiang Yin-ran saying that she even took the initiative to kiss the guy? She didn't even have the conscience to deny it. Why did she choose to go out alone with her man on Jiang Yin-ran's birthday, kissing and talking about being together after graduating, using all this intimate language? Dazed little cutie. The video clip speaks the truth. This is so much more exciting than the post next to it. No wonder the thread starter didn't make a sound. She was saving up for her big move. Shin Ming-chi can't rebut this time. Yi Wanwan's post went up the ranking of popular posts very quickly due to these netizens, and immediately overtook the popularity of the post about herself. The netizens who had been busy fighting in her post then all moved to the post about Shin Ming-chi, pleading the thread starter to release more gossip. Chapter 105. A ticking time bomb. After some time, that familiar ID appeared again. Love the winter nights. Did Shin Ming-chi actually initiate the kiss or made that promise? All those words were said by Jiang Yin-ran alone. We don't know whether it's the truth or not, right? Furthermore, even if Shin Ming-chi really did it, it's no crime to like someone. Jiang Yin-ran only had a one-sided crush on Song Zihang, and they weren't even a couple, so how could you call Shin Ming-chi a third party? Yuanwan took a bite of rice and then took her own sweet time to reply. Gossip Porter. TSK. Even those people with a small brain would know that whatever Jiang Yin-ran said was naturally told to her personally by Song Zihang. Whether it's the truth or not, that goes without saying. Also, Jiang Yin-ran and Song Zihang grew up together and were engaged since they were little. Many people in their circle knew about this. You think with Shin Ming-chi and Jiang Yin-ran's good relationship, and Jiang Yin-ran telling everything to Shin Ming-chi, that Shin Ming-chi wouldn't know about this? Even if she didn't know about this, she would have known that Jiang Yin-ran liked Song Zihang, and she shouldn't have kept Jiang Yin-ran in the dark while being intimate with Song Zihang in private. Yes, it's no crime to like someone, but she should have openly declared that she liked him and fought with Jiang Yin-ran fair and square. I believe nobody would say anything about her then, but what's the point in playing games? Could it be that she was using the same tactics on other people? Love the winter nights. Everything that was said above was completely made up. It's just vicious slander. Request for the moderator to delete it. Gossip Porter. The clip I have speaks the truth. How is it made up? The post before was purely based on hearsay, yet Yuanwan still got so much humiliation, but what I posted was made up. Don't you think that's a bit hypocritical? I am little cutie 123. I feel that what the thread starter said makes sense, and the conjecture was very reasonable. Day's little cutie. I support the thread starter. Love the winter nights is a bit weird. She was so enthusiastic when we were talking about you, Wan Wan, and when people said that the poster had no evidence, she attacked them. Yet now, she's speaking up for Shinming-chi? Anyway, if it was me, and my crush fell for my best friend and even confessed his love to her, I would definitely not forgive her if she kept it from me and went out on a secret date with him even after knowing that I like that guy so much. Isn't truth the most important thing between friends? If she hid this kind of thing, I would never believe that she's not up to anything. Probably because she was guilty. Shinming-chi's ID didn't appear anymore. She was probably thinking of ways to get someone to remove the post. Although there were still some boys speaking up for Shinming-chi, the girls were more active since girls are usually more aggressive in forums than boys. Furthermore, girls abhorred these kinds of actions, so the majority of public opinion was on Jiang Yanran's side. This issue didn't beat Shinming-chi down completely, but merely proving her innocence would keep her busy enough, so she wouldn't keep finding trouble for Yuan Wan. Scrolling through the post, everyone was talking about Shinming-chi. While her post slowly sank down, Yuan Wan then returned to school. After she went back, Yuan Wan didn't head to the dormitory straight away, but instead, she took a stroll around the little lake. She was unsure whether it was her imagination, but she felt a little uneasy, like something was going to happen. This issue with Xixia was a ticking time bomb. It was easy to settle things with Ling Dong, but what should she do about Xixia? Chapter 106. You've Never Loved Me? Yuan couldn't go to see Han and ask whether his nephew was trying to tease her, right? Both these relationships were intertwined. Han is Xixia's ninth uncle, and if she rushed to complain hastily, wouldn't that sow discord between them? As Yuan was thinking about how to solve this problem, she suddenly heard an angry voice nearby. Jiang Yanran, I never thought you would be so scheming. Aside from plotting against Ming-chi and hurting her, you actually posted those things on the school's forum to ruin her reputation? Yuan raised her brows. What a coincidence, Song Ziheng. She saw that Song Ziheng's face was in a fury, and the girl standing in front of him was pale. Both her eyes were red and her body was trembling as she explained emotionally, I've already repeated myself many times, that wasn't posted by me. Even if I did, was there anything wrong in the post? Wasn't she stealing my man? Didn't she betray our friendship? Song Ziheng sneered, his eyes filled with disgust. Jiang Yanran, you are impossible to reason with. I don't belong to you. Neither do I have anything to do with you. The engagement was just my family's wishful thinking. I am not their puppet. I have someone I like. If it wasn't for you coming between us, I would have been together with Ming-chi a long time ago. She suffered so much because she cared about your feelings. But you hurt her this way. You're the third party between us. The way he looked at her was akin to a knife stabbing through the girl's body. Jiang Yanran's expression was blank all of a sudden. She then looked like she was in excruciating pain and smiled bitterly. Ha! Ha ha! Song Ziheng, we've known each other since we were in our mother's wombs. You've said before. Said that you would marry me, would protect me and let no one bully me. Wanted to be with me forever. But now you tell me that you don't have anything to do with me, that I'm a third party. I'm a third party. The girl's last two words were weeping blood. But the man was distant. That was all in the past when we were young. Don't bring up those childhood jokes to bother me. Jiang Yanran's nails dug into the palms of her hands. Bother you. I remembered them all for over a decade. I recited them for over a decade. Looked forward to them for over a decade. Yet they were all just me bothering you. Song Ziheng, do you even have a heart? Answer me. After all these years, you've never loved me? Even for a brief moment? At this moment, Song Ziheng's phone beeped. He looked at the message and his eyes became soft. But when he lifted his head and looked at Jiang Yanran, his entire face was filled with annoyance. He replied coldly, Jiang Yanran, I'll be honest with you, no? I've only treated you as a sibling. But now, you've drained the last bit of feelings I had for you. I'll give you an hour to consider deleting that post yourself. If it's not deleted after an hour, don't blame me for being heartless. Song Ziheng turned and left immediately. Jiang Yin Rant's lips trembled and her eyes were red. Her tears seemed to have drained out. She stood there in a daze, looking at the man's receding figure like all the anger in her body had been wrung out. After a long time, she walked numbly, step by step, towards the lake robotically. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.